What about now? Can you hear me now? I might have had the mic down. Can you hear me? Still? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I just had my mic turned down. Sorry. There's my boomer moment to start things off. Sorry about my voice. My voice is still recovering. I had a nice, nasty head cold. The only weird thing that happened to me this weekend, it was the only part of this weekend that was weird for me,
God, please
is that
don't
I had a
start.
little bit of a cold. You look lovely.
Oh, this is new. Are you going to treat me nicely? Usually you make fun of my clothes.
I've never made fun. You don't understand I'm complimenting your clothes. You think because I'm pointing them out that
Like,
I don't
what are
like
you
them.
wearing? When someone yells at you, what are you wearing the first time they see you
It's a fair
every
point.
day? It doesn't, you start to
No
wonder.
audio from Felice. I can hear you.
What?
Somebody said no audio. I don't. Can you guys hear Felice? That's crazy. I can
Hello?
hear you.
Hello?
Oh, audio's good. I don't know who said no audio.
Like,
You're
what's
fine.
funny is the reason I'm late is because I couldn't hear you and I thought my sound was messed up, but your mic was just muted.
I just had turned my mic all the way down. I don't think I've used this mic since the live with emo on Friday night. I might have used it yesterday morning. I don't remember. I don't think I used it yesterday morning. I had some guest appearances yesterday morning. That's why I couldn't make it to the show. I had some guest appearances in
I
the
was
morning.
busy having a mental health crisis. I'm not pretending.
The good news is you're coming back on a day full of Rudy Giuliani stories. So it's kind of
Oh
like a
my
good
God.
way to ease back into. I've been dying. I've watched that clip that you sent from Twitter a million times. Do we want to just start with Rudy?
Yeah, we can start with Rudy. Because I put two, I mean, oh my God, it's it makes me angry actually. Maybe wait, let's
Does it?
tap the screen first. Let's get to 5K. Let's tap the screen. Share the live with your favorite or least favorite Republican. Would you like to talk to people today? I wouldn't mind talking to someone, a Republican.
Yeah, I didn't. I thought you were saying. Sorry, I thought you were asking me to take the floor for a second. I was like, no, I don't want to talk
No,
about that shit.
no, I absolutely
Jay,
do
would you
not
like
think
to
you should
unload your
take any
feelings?
more floors. You've taken enough floors.
It's where I was curled up on one earlier. Actually, I wasn't. I was curled
Friday.
up
You were
last
curled
night.
up on the floor on Friday. Remember
Friday.
when you, after our live, and you're like, I had to put my cheek against the floor because it's cold.
Oh yeah, I felt awful on Friday. I was very very sick this whole weekend. But I also went at one point cuz when you're sick and you have like you're congested, you have like your chest is clogged up, your nose, your head. The best thing you can do is get some of the devil's lettuce. So I did that and I did not realize until last night that what I had got was infused lettuce. I just didn't even think about it. I'm like, why do I keep having like the weirdest experiences? Last night was a weird was If you had infused lettuce, like crystal infused lettuce.
I'm still not okay from last night. I was in.
What was that squeak of a voice? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
You're still trying to piece it together after last night?
Yeah. No. Even after
Yeah.
I talked to you, I still continued getting into more problems last night. Like, I need to be alone somewhere where no one can contact me. That's the only way that I can stay out of conflicts.
You should have joined Rudy's legal team because eventually they'll all be kind of alone and have nobody to
I'd be
talk
really
to.
worried about my freedom if I was on, or my continued legal career. I was on Rudy's
There's this
legal team.
person. I don't know what this is. They said they wanted to ask a question. I'm
Oh
guessing
God.
it'll be super nice.
What do you think of Oprah's Kegels? What do you think of Oprah's Kegels?
Okay, that's not even very funny, dude.
Oprah's
Yeah, that's just
Kegels.
strange.
That
It's
was
like
stupid.
ASMR. It's like ASMR of dumb questions. You know what
Look,
I mean? So
I like funny. If you're gonna come on and troll and be funny, like great, but be funny. That was weird. That was icky. I
it
see you,
was
Z-Pack. We're just
ASMR.
looking for op right now, but I do see you. Sorry, buddy. I thought maybe Oprah's Cankles was gonna be op. That was weird. That was weird.
That was
Maybe that
scary.
person hasn't recovered
That
from
was
last night.
ASMR. What do you think of Rudy's Ginkles? Like I
Rudy's. You're already thinking about Rudy. It was Oprah's Cankles.
Oh yeah, I just pulled
Let's
up this. I just pulled up this the Midas Touch story. So
hold on. Have you seen this? This might help. Let me see. Let me see if I can Google this. You've seen Rudy on Cameo, right?
I didn't know Rudy was on Cameo, but it sounds like he needs the money since his lawyer
Okay,
said that.
just everybody go to YouTube right now. Google Rudy on Rudy Cameo Golf, and the first clip is going to be Colbert, and I will find the exact clip of when you need to watch Rudy. Where is it? Where's Rudy's Cameo? Maybe this is the worst possible one. Did he say? Oh, he saved the best for last. So go to like 8:35. I'll just play the audio here.
Yeah, you just play it. Like I don't even.
You well, the thing is
Oh, he's
you
been on Cameo since 2021.
Giuliani, if you want to have a really nice conversation, or a birthday greeting, or just talk golf, go to the link below.
We can talk about anything.
he is
even about how
he's wearing shorts. I don't know how to describe the length of his shorts. They start belly button ish, and they are mid calf. They are mid calf, and he's standing like this. I'll just give you an example. He's just standing, and he's going like this, and saying like, but his whole lower body's not moving. His outfit's ridiculous. His shirt, it's way too big. But just go if you want something fun to watch. Go watch Rudy's Cameo. Just search Rudy cameos. They're pretty impressive. They're pretty.
Was the Cameo supposed to be about golf, or is he just on
That
the
was him
golf course?
advertising his Cameo. He's like, "Hey guys, if you want to have a conversation about golf or politics, just hit this link below," and the link is his Cameo. So
Yeah, I was listening to George Santos. Like we could play the clips from I think it was yesterday's outline if we wanted, but like him just talking about how, he made more in 1 week on Cameo than he did in from his entire congressional salary. He made
he
over
really?
175. Yeah, he made over 175,000 his first week in Cameo, and he was saying he started out with his cameos being $75 and they're 500 now.
yeah,
And
talk to us some
we
more,
should just all
capitalists.
become criminals because it's a career path. You just become the biggest criminal of all time, and then you just use that as a financial vehicle.
That's capitalism, baby. That's capitalism.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's what Elon Musk is finding too. Elon, by the way, I saw this weekend. I forgot to throw it on here. Elon had a poll this weekend. Should I bring Alex Jones back to Twitter?
He brought him back.
Did he bring him back? The
Yeah,
poll was
Alex Jones is back on Twitter. We can
poll
look
was
at yesterday's
overwhelming.
outline. No, I won't play the video unless once I tell you this crazy story about Alex Jones being back on Twitter. You want to hear it because this is crazy.
How did I miss
one of the
news
stories from
yesterday?
yesterday?
I was locked in yesterday.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like it's so weird that there was a distraction yesterday. I have no idea what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Alex Jones is back on Twitter, and of course, because Elon Musk said in 2022, was it, that he would never let Alex Jones back on Twitter, or whenever Elon Musk first was putting people back on Twitter, like giving people back their banned accounts. And he said because of Sandy Hook and like what had Alex Jones had done in relation to that, like it was too much of a liability. He wouldn't let him back on Twitter. Anyway, so he's let him back on. And the day he lets him back on, they're in a Twitter Spaces, where you can have
Terrific.
like 50, however many listeners. No, listen to this.
Fucking
so
terrific.
It's Elon Musk, Alex Jones, and Vivek Ramaswamy from listen to me.
Fucking dream team.
And during an exchange with Elon Musk and Alex Jones talking, Vivek just starts peeing and doesn't mute. And
Why
all
have
you
I
can
not
hear
seen
is
this?
Vivek peeing.
How was the stream?
Here, do you want to hear it? Hold on.
I do want to hear it. Was that a healthy stream?
I knew you would. I knew you
Yeah.
would want to hear it. Yeah, like listen, and people are like, feel better? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
What is going? I've been trying to figure this out with some of these, like the Elons and the Viveks. Do they know that do they know that they're lying, or are people dumber than I thought? That's the question I've been asking myself this
Do
weekend.
they know that they're lying, or
Yeah, like when Vivek ends the presidential debate with conspiracy theories, did he know that and just like he's like,
found
my
it.
moment is over, this is my chance to transition into like Tucker Light? Or is he like, and by the way, I got nothing to lose, here's the truth, and then let that out? I don't actually know which one it is. He's either dumb and believes all this shit, or he's smart and
No.
is preparing for
he's
his
a
next
grifter?
career.
I think Vivek specifically, like
lot of
he's
people are saying
realizing, like,
both.
oh, the pump and dump, like I can only defraud so many Alzheimer's patients. Like, you know what I mean? I'm saying for investors, like people aren't going to invest over and over in that scheme. Like, how many times can that financial scheme he's doing possibly
A
work?
lot, a lot. I think if as long as you do it from like a right wing angle, and that's probably what he's figured out, is that I can run schemes the rest of my life as long as I'm a right winger. As long as I'm on the right, I can run schemes. These people will never fucking figure it out. Never. Trump's running the greatest scheme of all time. Y'all are paying his legal bills. He's just going on vacations, doing whatever he wants, and you guys are just paying for it, despite the fact that he's a billionaire. It's a great place to go and grift. Right wingers.
Okay,
over here,
listen. This
send
is
me
the
some money.
Twitter Spaces with the three of them.
Elon Musk is promoting an optimistic, pro-human future that the science and evidence shows is real and that we need.
Gentlemen, I have to go.
I just want to be sort of exactly. I want to be clear about my position. I'm super pro-human, and I mean all humans. Humans in America, humans in
Somebody's got their thing
Asia,
open.
and everywhere
Somebody's
else.
their phone open in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's Vivek. Vivek, that's your phone, Vivek. I'm not able to mute you. Vivek. Perfect. Go ahead, Elon.
Sorry about that.
So, well, I hope you feel better.
I feel
Sorry
great,
about
thank you. Sorry about that, guys.
Children. That's all I'm saying. Elon Musk is promoting an
I'm
optimistic.
so
They just
pro-human.
keep talking. Like, oh, sorry, I just
What
peed
the
on
fuck
Twitter
is
Spaces.
pro-human?
They don't know what they were talking. I don't know what they were talking about. I listened to it for a while and could not figure out what they were talking about.
Those are your friends. I've wondered with Elon too. Like, how did they get into this space where they're saying, like, how do you get to a space where you have to, like, you're saying I'm pro-human? That in and of itself is a crazy
After-
fucking thing to say. If I was walking down the street and someone just came up to me and they're like, "Hey, I'm pro-human, are you?" I'd be like, "This guy for sure is gonna stab me. Like, this person is having a mental breakdown." Nobody
have to say it.
Nobody says like I'm pro-human. The only people that say I'm pro-human are people who might not be pro-human. People who you want to watch out for.
They're
If anybody in your
pro what?
life, if anybody in your life
Like-
says that, get rid of that person out of your life. Don't be friends with people who say I'm pro-human. Projection.
Well, listen,
shut up.
can I play one more thing from yesterday's outline?
Please,
I
for
want
the
to
love
play.
of God.
It's just a Lincoln Project ad. So I don't know if you guys remember this. This Lincoln Project ad is actually, they like brought it back out, and it's one of my favorites. Like, you know how the the Russian state media has been thanking the Republican Party every night in their
Yeah,
addresses.
they're big fans of the Republican Party.
Yeah,
They're huge fans.
starting last Wednesday when the Republicans voted down the Ukraine aid package, like the message in Russian state media is that the Republicans have allied with the Russian state and like they're fighting against the leftists to stop the war in Ukraine.
Yeah,
But anyway, so this is
yeah,
the
go.
Lincoln Project ad about like the pro-Russia right.
At long last, the glorious invasion of Ukraine begins. Soon, the motherland will take the wayward province into her firm embrace again. Field Marshal Putin offers cheers and many celebrations for American comrades who showed loyalty to Mother Russia. We have much gratitude and thanks for Fox News, most especially Comrade Tucker Carlson. For his loyalty, will receive highest Russian honor, the Order of Lenin. We thank Steve Bannon, admirer and student of Comrade Lenin, who led the Republicans to support of Comrade Putin's plans for Greater Russia. We thank GOP Comrade Senator Joshua Hawley, who blocked enemies of Russia that the warmonger Biden wished to appoint to his regime. Russia waits 40 years for American Republicans to throw away disgrace of Ronald Reagan. Republicans say they stand for America. Comrade Putin knows better.
I love the Lincoln Project.
That's really good. So they re-released that one.
Yeah.
It is weird. I think somebody asked David the other day, like, if they were pro Russia, and he was like, I don't know. Like, Republicans really can't figure out if they know off the top of their head, like, they should say I'm not pro Russia, but it's got to be confusing being a Republican because you're also spending all your time like defending Russia or bad mouthing the country that Russia invaded. Like, immediately, Russia. I had never in my life heard that like there were schmozzies in Ukraine. I'm sure that like people had said it, but it wasn't something anybody ever talked about. And then like one day after Russia invades Ukraine, all the Republicans on this app are like, well, there's schmozzies in Ukraine. It's
That's the talking point they got.
Yeah, I wonder
great
where
at
you got
messaging.
that talking point.
The word. Yeah, exactly. That's the talking point. But I mean, yeah, there's like neo-schmozzy factions in every country, all over the world. Like, that's why it was so ludicrous that they sort of brought that up. But I just wanted to play that because I love the Lincoln Project. But we can go back to Rudy Kaludi now.
Speaking of neo-schmozzis, we can go back to Rudy Kaludi. Let's pull up the interview that I cannot stop. Where's that clip? Shit. Oh, I got to go to your list.
It's in the outline.
There were a couple clips. There it is.
Yeah, I can play them if you want.
This is... let's do Ron Filipowski's tweet after court yesterday. So, do you want to explain what happened in court yesterday first, and then we'll play this clip, actually, so people know what we're talking about? I'll do it.
Yeah.
Rudy Giuliani was late to court yesterday. He skipped court, then he was late to court. This is the defamation lawsuit with Ruby Freeman and what is her daughter's name? I always forget.
It's a civil lawsuit. Yeah, he's already guilty. Excuse me, he's liable. This court order is just about how much. Yeah, Shay Moss. Sorry, her name is Shay Moss. Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. And Rudy entered no discovery, just to give, the evidence, just to let you know how already concluded this trial is. Rudy did not defend himself because he has no evidence.
Which is difficult. And when you have no evidence, it is difficult to come up with a defense. That's difficult. Especially when all of your evidence being used against you was broadcast to millions of people via the internet, via Twitter, via Facebook, via Four Seasons Landscaping. All of the evidence they're using against him are basically like, here's all the shit he said on national TV, and here's all the threats that we received because of it. What's he gonna say? What's he gonna pull out a clip from behind closed doors where he's like, I don't know, maybe Ruby Freeman isn't so bad. That wouldn't help either. There's no evidence he could bring. He didn't really have a different choice. He had to show up and just be like, oh.
Well, let me highlight. I'm going to try to read because I think it's important. Like, this is Rudy Kaludi is a joke, and we should, but like, I was reading the Washington Post article link about this, and I mean, so the lawyers yesterday were essentially going through just some of the things that Rudy said about these women and how it affected their lives. I mean, I don't think I can read. They were reading like the threats that they received, as a result of what Rudy said.
For all the Republicans who claim they're not racist, that was a lot of N-words for a group of people who loves to say that they're not racist.
Every other word is the N-word. I don't think I can read any of them. It's about lynching. It's about, it's sick. It's sickening to see like what these people, what these two women have gone through.
Yeah,
it's literally heartbreaking.
Reading the quotes out of articles, it's actually, there's so many N-words that it's actually hard to make out what the quote is saying, because there's so many missing letters in everything that they say. A lot of gay slurs, a lot of N-words, a lot of it's actually kind of difficult to piece together what the people are saying. That's how awful these quotes are. I would highly recommend not reading them, but if you're like us and you do, just know it's going to be hard to piece together.
And they're saying like the defense, the ridiculous defense is like the defense lawyer is just saying like, yeah, none of this stuff should have happened, but it's not because of Rudy.
Yeah.
Is
By the way, while she's pulling this up, if you guys could help with hitting the like button and the share button, because we didn't go live yesterday, it will mess with our algorithm just a little bit. It won't always show up on the FYP since we didn't go yesterday. I don't know what happened yesterday. I think it was a Monday holiday.
So do you want me to read the after court yesterday?
Yes.
Is that or play that? Okay. So
Yes.
After court yesterday, Rudy tells his fans that he is like a Christian in the Roman Colosseum battling 5 lions. Quote, but have faith and confidence
play it.
because he is
You gotta
going to
play
come
it.
out. Yeah, I'm going to play it.
Oh, sorry.
Time today by just talking.
Can you turn your mic up on here?
When you're the Christian in the lion's den, in the Colosseum, and the 5 lions are attacking you, you can't play tiddlywinks.
You just can't do it.
We don't play tiddlywinks. You'll see. So just have faith and confidence. They had a good time today by just talking and talking and talking, and we'll have a good time later by proving and proving that and proving. Have we won every battle with them on who's telling the truth? Yes.
We certainly have, Mayor. And being in D.C.
Like, he literally said yes.
This is the part that I love about Rudy. And you'll pick this up on any of his clips now. Your father's fairly old, right? How's his hearing?
I mean, yeah, it's not great.
When you get certain people, when they get to a point of age, you talk to them slowly and loudly and with small words. Listen to how his assistant talks to him at the end. Just play the last 5 seconds again and hear his assistant. Listen to how he talks to him like they're actually in a home together, and he's like, we're just recording him because he thinks he's still on the news. And then they're like, you can do it, Rudy. Like, they maybe don't know, but just listen to his tone.
We certainly have, Mayor. And being in D.C.
We certainly have, Mayor. His voice is 10 levels higher than Rudy Giuliani's, screaming at him in the same room. What did Rudy said, first of all, going into court where you have defamed people and have no evidence is a lot like being a Christian in the Colosseum surrounded by 5 lions. And then Rudy proceeded to tell us that what you don't want to do if you head into the Colosseum, just for you guys, if you're ever a Christian in the Colosseum and there's 5 lions, the number one thing you don't want to do is play Tiddlywinks, which is a game so old that none of us probably really know what
from
that means.
the 1900s. Yeah,
I believe it might have to do with marbles and jack, or it might be jacks. I'm not really sure. And then he said they had a great time today in court. That's what I bet Ruby Freeman thought. Like, this was a good day, just talking and talking. And then he says that we proved them wrong on everything they said while submitting no evidence. It's beautiful. And that's why you get that response from his assistant, who clearly is not a good assistant, probably knows they're not going to get paid for this, but they're hoping to get some. And that's why you get the assistant at the end shouting at him. I also want to know why he has 2 microphones. You look at the picture.
Oh.
Why does he have 2 microphones?
Yeah, no.
How many places was this being broadcast to?
Oh, I know, but that's not the only weird thing about him. Is so I don't. Well, I'll just read this. So, Giuliani drew the ire of the judge when he skipped a pretrial hearing recently. Like you said, he missed a pretrial hearing completely. Then he followed that up by showing up 20 minutes late yesterday. But here's the best part. So he was in the elevator, right, going to the courtroom, and his belt was completely undone. They had to tell him the elevator to buckle his belt, why is this relevant? Because in his disbarment hearing, if you remember back when he was facing the bar because they were taking his ability to practice law, and he had 2 watches on, one upside down, and he's getting disbarred. and has 2 watches on, and then all of a sudden looks at his arm and tries to like slowly take one off.
I can hear his voice too when he's in the elevator. Mr. Giuliani, your belt's still off, and then I bet it took a while for him to get, but there was some sort of just
You have
grumble.
to be reminded to buckle his belt up on the elevator.
You know why? Because he's also so old. He's wearing suspenders. So when his belt wasn't up, his pants didn't fall down because he is also wearing suspenders. It reminds me of the last time I saw Rudy Giuliani messing with his belt when he was being pranked by Borat or whoever Sacha Baron Cohen and that girl into taking his pants off for a supposed underage person. It reminds me of the last time that happened. Remember when Rudy did that? And then he was just like, I was just fixing my pants by laying... Whenever I want to fix my belt, what I do is I lay down on a bed with my feet still touching the ground. I lay all the way back, and then I reach forward and try and get my belt. That's a good position if you're old. Old people are really good at reaching for things, so that made a lot of sense there by Rudy.
Well, the other part is, like, Rudy's lawyer said the civil equivalent, like, this trial for Rudy Giuliani and the damages they're seeking, because he's already found liable. He didn't defend himself because there's no evidence he has that any of the stuff he said that they did were true. So he literally submitted no evidence. He's already liable. It's just a question of for how much. And his attorney said, quote, the civil equivalent of the death penalty. These damages would be the end of Giuliani. Well, you should have thought about that before you ran your mouth. You're a lawyer.
What are the total damages that they're seeking?
I don't know. Tens of millions of dollars. They're seeking tens of millions, it says. They're seeking tens of millions of dollars in compensatory. I think there's like a range of which they could give, right?
Pre-Donald Trump, I believe Rudy Giuliani's net worth was somewhere around like $100 million. This is just...
was... Come on.
I swear I heard that the other day.
Would he get $100 million?
Well, he was the corrupt mayor of New York.
I know, he was corrupt for sure, but $100 million?
Let's see what... maybe I'm making that up.
Because he's not a Nepo baby.
Nailed it. 45 million. No, 90. There it is. There it is. I was right.
But there's so many crazy net worths. Like,
I understand.
What is 45 million? What is 90? Yeah, I don't know. But then he wasted all his money.
I'm guessing just with like property or whatever stocks. I have no idea. But now he's broke. That's what happens when you join up with Donald Trump. He winds up getting all his bills paid, and you wind up going broke.
Well, he's not technically broke. They have forensic accountants that are looking for his money, and they found some. Like, he tried to hide it, knowing he was going to lose it.
Well, of course. But, like, he would be broke if he didn't hide his money.
Oh, yeah.
I know he's selling he's having a fire sale on properties all over the place. That'd be nice to have it. I bet a Rudy Giuliani used apartment smells just like every other rotting old person's apartment. Just you know what I mean? You ever go into an apartment where someone's real old, they don't move a lot, the air, because they also like it hot, the air doesn't move a lot, and you just walk in there and it's just stale. Like, you can almost like cut through the air. Like, it's sat in the same spot for so long that it's almost created barriers. That's what
I think the grossest thing about Rudy
like.
Giuliani I always think about is in Cassidy Hutchinson's book, that part where she describes him like essaying her. That is disgusting.
That's insane. That's
so gross.
That's fucking insane. And who's the other? Somebody else came forward too. I don't remember their name.
Well, many. Jenna Ellis, I think, is one. Or like, there's many people that have said that about Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah, and again, we do have him on video being pranked, wholly ready to do that. So it's probably not like a big leap to say that Rudy himself may not be like a fan of consent. And if you asked Rudy about consent, he'd probably say something like, when you're a Christian in the lion's den, you don't want to play tiddlywinks. And you'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about, Rudy? And he'd be like, I don't know, I use that for everything. It usually works. And be like, it didn't work. It never works, Rudy. That doesn't make any goddamn sense.
And
I
he
did.
also said that he's never not proven something he said to be true. Did you hear that part at the end? What he said?
Yeah, I mean, the election comes to mind. I remember a lot
You
of
didn't even
claims.
prove your case in this civil trial. You
Yeah,
didn't even try to
you've already
prove it.
lost this one. You didn't prove the election one. Yeah, you haven't done well. I think is what's her face suing him? I'm so bad with names today. Cassidy Hutchinson, is she
I don't
suing?
think so.
Why should she
Not as
sue
of
him?
now. Maybe she will one, but she's not now. That's just something she talked about in her book.
So let's go to Texas. I noticed a theme there with the first like four, and I progressively, as I read through these, got more and more mad. So, do you want to go to Texas and get mad, or would you like to do more fun news?
No, we can talk about Texas. You're
All
talking
right.
about Kate Cox.
I am talking about Kate Cox. Can you update the people on the Kate Cox story?
Yeah, so yesterday the Texas Supreme Court, like a federal court had ruled, that for an injunction or whatever, so Kate Cox could receive like the life-saving abortion that she needs. She like basically she has a rare genetic situation with her fetus where like it'll most likely result in a stillbirth, but could also make it so she can never have children again. And the Supreme Court overruled essentially and made it so she can't have the abortion. And she, like hours before that, I mean, almost concurrently at the same time, she was leaving Texas for the procedure because she can't wait any longer. She's been to 3 emergency rooms around Texas. Fluid is leaking, unidentified fluid is leaking from her body, and she is going to leave the state to get a procedure.
Yeah, and keep in mind that like what the Supreme Court ruled is essentially that although she has this condition, although it is dangerous for her, although it could cause her to never have children again, the way that the law is written, the Supreme Court is basically saying you have to prove that this is what will happen, not what could happen. So this person, Miss Cox, is required to continue this pregnancy despite the fact that there's great risk to her, to the fetus, and then to her her long-term viability of ever having children again. And that's what the Texas Supreme Court basically said is like we have to follow the legislation. And unless the doctor can say like this will happen, we will not allow the abortion. That's Republicans for you. Like when
But think
every
about it.
time
You're
they
basically damning women to infertility. Like the doctors are saying, like you're not going to be able to have kids again. You've already had more C-sections. Like, and so you're
yeah,
saying
maybe at
it.
best infertility though, like right? At
Yeah.
worst like your life.
And I mean, this further proves like how I just want to go around like Republicans think that they're going to be campaigning on, oh, but there's exceptions for the life of the mother. There's exceptions for, dangerous pregnancies. There's not. Clearly, we just learned from Texas. This is just like when they're like, oh, we're sending it back to the states. We're sending it back to the states. We're not interested in a federal abortion ban, but surprise, they are. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And this is the same thing saying, oh, there's exceptions for the life of the mother. There clearly are not. Like now we see the truth.
And that's the law was written ambiguously on purpose to make it so that the Supreme Court would have a difficult time ruling. And that's word for word. They said these laws reflect the policy choice that the legislature has made, and the courts must respect that choice. They didn't rule that there was no risk to the mother. They didn't rule on anything other than the policy change that the legislature has made is must be respected by the courts. They're essentially saying we're hamstrung by this policy. It's going to be impossible for us to make a ruling on any of these things where the doctor isn't just saying, "Hey, the mother's life is in danger and I can prove it." Not that it's in danger and or I guess or is likely. It almost seems because they're saying that we have the condition, the life is in danger. They can prove that, but unless it's imminent, unless for sure she will lose her life, or the doctor can say with some amount of certainty that she will, then the courts are going to continue to rule that they must continue with the pregnancy.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear that like this woman, Kate Cox, was lucky enough to have an abortion advocacy like nonprofit working with her that are paying these legal fees. This is like a precedent, a case that sets a precedent that was very important. Like the majority of women that are going to have complications like this, nobody is going to help them. This is not going to be a public case where people are assisting her to like get out of the state. Like many women, women of lower socioeconomic status, and or minority women, as we know, are going to suffer and be unalived as a result of this.
Well, and that was the next link you brought up. Athena actually touched on this maybe a month or two ago in a debate. I don't remember what we were debating, but she brought it up. I wasn't debating because when Athena speaks, I listen. But she brought up this study of the unconscious bias in healthcare, and that's
Yeah.
where you linked from the New York
Medical
Times.
racism, essentially. Like many studies have proven the existence of medical racism. And yeah, this is an article today in the New York Times. It's titled, if anyone wants to go read it, How Unconscious Bias in Healthcare Puts Black Women at Higher Risk. Many Black women report feeling ignored or dismissed by doctors. The consequences can be deadly for mothers and babies. And it starts with a story that I think pretty much it really illustrates it well. Shakima Toze was 37 years old and 6 months pregnant when a nurse checking the fetal heart rate of the baby boy she was carrying referred to him as a, quote, hoodlum. Miss Toze, a social worker, froze. She had just been hospitalized at Providence Regional Medical Center in Everett, Washington, with preeclampsia, a life-threatening complication of pregnancy, and she is Black. A hoodlum, she said? Why would you call him that? The fetus was 14 inches long and weighed a little more than a box of chocolates. A doctor who came into the room downplayed the comment, saying the nurse was kidding. But that only hurt Miss Toze more. She was already distressed. She and her husband lost an earlier twin pregnancy, and now she was worried this baby was at risk too. The hospital later apologized for the nurse's behavior, but the damage was done.
Can I stop you? Can
Oh,
we
go
stop
ahead.
you right there? Because here's where you're going to get the conservative argument. And as I listen to this, like you're going to say, okay, well, it was just a nurse. This isn't evidence of racism. This was a nurse. Maybe they just used the
I'm
wrong
getting
word.
there.
Yeah, I am. I'm just giving the conservative argument there so that then you can dunk on it. The conservative argument here, the people who would say this is not a sign of racism, they're going to say they just misspoke. They just used the wrong word.
They
It's not their
referred to a
fault. Like,
fetus, an
yeah,
unborn child, as a hoodlum.
yeah, not everything
That's
is
not
racism, they're going to
misspeaking.
say. Now it becomes very clear.
Okay, so Black women who die of pregnancy-related complications at 2 to 3 times the rate of white women say that remarks like these, often made when they are most vulnerable, reflect pervasive bias in the medical system. They report that medical staff don't listen to them when they complain of symptoms and dismiss or downplay their concern. Studies validate their experiences. Analyses of taped conversations between physicians and patients have found that doctors dominate the conversation more with Black patients, and they don't ask as many questions as they do of white patients.
That's
In medical
fucking.
notes,
Let's stop right there. That's wild. That's an insane thing to. One, to like, as you do this study, you're just going to record doctors' conversations. I don't know if the doctors knew or didn't know that they were going to be recorded. If they knew, then the problem's probably more pervasive than they're making it. But just like on a surface level, and when you have conclusions like this, it speaks to exactly what she's talking about, right? Like to them, they are the, or to you, yeah. Yeah, to them, they are the expert, and it's your job to listen. But if a white patient comes in, they're gonna give you a little more leeway. They're gonna ask a few more questions. They might care a little bit more about your history. They might just assume that you're more educated. That's what we're seeing here. All right, keep going.
yeah, I'm sorry, I was just reading the study. Physicians were 23% more verbally dominant and engaged in 33% less patient-centered communication with African American patients than with white patients. Furthermore, both African American patients and their physicians exhibited lower levels of positive affect than white patients and their physicians did. Okay. Let's see. Mm-hmm.
And this
Doc
likely
with
to
black
give the
patients.
physicians credit, like this likely can come from a lot of different reasons. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be that that they don't like black people. It could also be that they live in a community where like everybody is white, right? And they rarely interact with somebody who's black, and so when they do, they don't actually know how to interact with somebody who's black, or they get like nervous interacting with somebody who's black. That's part of systemic racism, though. Like systemic racism isn't always presented as I hate somebody based on their race. It's the idea that like you should speak to somebody from a different race differently, that you see somebody who looks differently and automatically your brain's like I've got to talk differently here for some reason. Like that's part of systemic racism. So without saying that every doctor or nurse that had these conversations is actively racist or holds like ill feelings toward minority communities, it's also just built into the system. It's also like why when we segregated and basically have refused to unsegregate big cities, like we still have these problems. Like we still have problems from people not interacting with each other, and that's spilling over into the care that people receive, like life and death care.
Yeah, and that's the second part of this. And this is another study. In medical notes, doctors are more likely to express skepticism about the symptoms Black patients report. I've read other medical studies where, like, Black patients are given pain medication disproportionately less, like they're not believed about their level of pain and things of that nature. And then, like, just to overlay the issue that we're specifically talking about here, which is pregnancy. So hovering over these experiences is the stark reality that Black women have worse pregnancy outcomes, lose more infants in the first year of life, and have higher rates of preterm birth and stillbirth when compared with white women. Glaring racial disparities in health outcomes persist between white women and even the wealthiest Black women. So even, I mean, this is not like a matter, like it's demonstrating, this next study is just talking about, this is not about socioeconomic status. Even wealthy Black women suffer the same disparities. And between Black and white women who experience the same exact complications, Black women are having worse outcomes.
A bunch of people said Beyonce. Is there a story about Beyonce I don't know about? Why are people saying Beyonce?
No, well,
There
I'm
may be a
not sure
story
what-
about Beyonce I
Is
don't
it
know
about her
about.
pregnancy? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I may
But-
not know that story.
And then, so this goes to what you were saying. So I just want to read this part because it says, quote, they will say, hey, I'm not biased, and consciously they are not. So I do just want to say this is the same thing as like systemic racism existing. This has to do with, it's unconscious. It has to do with the structure of our system and how in it, African Americans have been marginalized and devalued. It's an unconscious bias. Like they're not saying, oh, like hospitals have hired a bunch of overtly racist doctors who are setting out to go, do something nefarious. This is an unconscious bias as a result of growing up in a white supremacist system.
Yeah. Some more things that they added: Black women are more likely to be tested for illicit drugs during labor and delivery than white women, regardless of their history of substance abuse. And even though they were less likely than white women to test positive, a recent study found, other studies indicate that physicians may express less empathy for Black patients compared with white patients, and their notes reflect a belief that Black patients are less likely to follow their medical advice. That's a weird thing to put in the notes, right? That's a weird thing to exist. That as they researched this, they found that in the notes section that doctors were writing, I don't believe black patients will follow my advice as much as white patients. That's pretty crazy. And then where was the last one? This one. And then researchers found that doctors signal disbelief in the records of Black patients, appearing to question the credibility of their complaints by placing quotation marks around certain words. For example, writing that the patient had a reaction to the medication, or by describing a complaint with words like claims or insists. And you see an uptick in that with Black patients. So it's interesting. Like, I think that a lot of these doctors would be surprised if you showed them this, right? If the people doing the study were like, all right, look at these notes, white patients versus Black patients, look how different you are. And this is the type of stuff that now they try and teach in medical school. When they say, like, we don't want to teach CRT, we don't want to talk about, like, any of these things in college and medical school or with the human and health services. This is why. This is why we have to teach this shit, because there are people out there actively and maybe unbeknownst to themselves propping up systemic racism. So the whole reason we need to educate and use CRT is for shit like this. Shit like this when it's not as black and white as Charlottesville. That was a poor choice of words, but it's not Charlottesville where you're like, okay, I see the two sides here. You're talking about systemic racism, and we've got to make the people aware of this. But if you tried to bring any of this stuff to a curriculum, Republicans would shut it down immediately. They say we can't learn this stuff. Even if we all agreed that nobody meant to do it, even if we all agreed that 100% of these doctors didn't mean to do this, Republicans would still oppose making the change because it's admitting that racism exists, and that's like their biggest fear, is admitting that like they're racist, even though clearly like the party is very racist.
Yeah, there's anti-bias training like that they're trying to implement for faculty members, but I'm not sure like as far as like what's going on in medical school. No idea. But if we want to segue to
this is what they wanted to get rid of. They wanted to take this out of our armed forces, which included like medics and training those that like perform medicine. And the Republicans, Matt Gaetz specifically, is going after General Milley, saying like, we can't teach this stuff. You're going to wokeify our military. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for teaching them something that will give everybody equal care, or everybody better care, not equal care. Like the level of care would go up. And I think sometimes Republicans think that when we talk about this, that means that their level of care is going to go down. No, we want to elevate everybody's level of care. That's what we're looking for. But everything's a fucking attack to Republicans. Everything's attack to MAGA. Anytime you point out any issue with our country, it's somehow an attack on them. And they must vehemently fight against it. They must go to Twitter, to Truth Social, to Fox News, find out why they're upset, first of all, because they're not sure. They just woke up pissed. They find out they're upset that we're teaching this in the military, and then they have to go out and just blindly defend it.
Yep, I concur with that statement. I was doing a couple articles about, so the next thing I want to talk about is a Washington Post article. It's also in the medical field and very concerning. So it's titled "Pharmacies Share Medical Data with Police Without a Warrant, Inquiry Finds." So what this is about is we all need to be very worried about HIPAA laws and how we're going to solve these problems, because it's CVS, Rite Aid, and I think Walmart pharmacies are the ones that they looked at and basically found that in a private state, right? Because all these computer systems, like a Rite Aid network of pharmacies, no matter where you go around the country, if you use a Rite Aid pharmacy, any pharmacy can pull up your health information, what mental health medication you're on, what birth control maybe you're taking. And so what they're saying is that, like, for instance, Rite Aid and CVS were the big ones, that they comply with any subpoena, right? Any subpoena. So if a police officer walks in and hands a subpoena, they will literally print out our medical information. And that includes medical information if you're in another state. If you're in California where your medical information is protected, but a police officer walks into a Rite Aid or CVS in Alabama and asks if you're on birth control or to see it, right? They can give them that information.
Yeah, this is Patriot Act. This is what the Patriot Act got us, and this is what Americans are willing to do, is just go ahead and forfeit that. Like, and again, another example of the news being the real voice of the people, like journalism being the real voice of the people. Everything we've covered today, you didn't see any of this by Congress. You didn't hear any of this with Trump. This is the media doing their job, and this is again showing why the media is so important. Because how would we know this stuff? Who could possibly keep up with all this? I have another CBS story, by the way, when we're done with this one.
No, okay. No, I mean, this is pretty much it. Like, this is a congressional investigation that's going on, and this was detailed in a letter that's put out by the Jayapal's one of them, Sarah Jacobs of California, Ron Wyden, the Democrat from Oregon. But yeah, this is an ongoing investigation. They began investigating this stuff after the Supreme Court's decision last year in Dobbs. ended the constitutional right to abortion. So the revelation could shape the debate over Americans' expectations of privacy as Texas and other states move to criminalize abortion and drugs related to reproductive health. So as these drugs become less available, like this information of who's accessing them and how could be subpoenaed more and more.
Yeah, well, yeah, and if you're in Idaho and they
Exactly.
subpoena that, like, you're going to go to jail now. Like, we said this to everybody when these laws were being passed, that like they won't stop at state line. It won't be state by state. States won't make decisions. States will make the decision to totally control anybody who lives in that state. Meaning, if you go out of state and you get an abortion, states are going to want that. You think the Republicans aren't going to want to prosecute every single person who had an abortion? Every single person who, let's say they ban birth control. You don't think they will want to prosecute everybody for that? Of course they will. Of course, it's
Well,
like
I want to.
a
So for
Republican
people
wet
in the
dream.
comments, for people in the comments who are talking about HIPAA, which, in case anyone doesn't know what that stands for, it's the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. The issue is, and why these Congress people are so concerned, is HIPAA is regulating how health information is used in exchange among covered entities, right? And that does not, apparently, such as hospitals and doctor's office, but the law gives pharmacies specifically leeway as to what legal standard they require before disclosing medical records to law enforcement. So this is a loophole of HIPAA. Pharmacies are.
Yeah. Yeah, that clears that up. I don't have anything to add to that story.
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's concerning.
Yeah. Tough fam, Ray. Thanks, Tough fam. Welcome. Oh, that's I forget that's Mr. Jones's deal now. I think they're Tough fam. I forgot. Thanks, Mr. Jones and the rest of the Tough fam. Here's a great story. I have and I hope, I don't know if my mom is here. If my mom, if you're here, screen record this so you can send this to your dumbass sisters. My mom, God bless her, is a wonderful woman. She's a brilliant woman. She is a very level-headed woman. And despite growing up with all Republicans around her and her family being all dyed-in-the-wool Republicans, she has managed to be a level-headed human being who sometimes says dumb things like, what's the comedian she likes? I forget that guy. Adam Carolla. She likes Adam Carolla. That's our one sticking point. She thinks Adam Carolla is funny. We're working on that.
Guys, tap the screen.
So one of her sisters lives in San Francisco, and her entire page, like every day, her stories is just like, here's more retail theft, here's more theft, and like here's all these people looting stores. This, according to the New York Times, a couple days ago, retail group retracts startling claim about organized shoplifting. The National Retail Federation, who, by the way, this is who the Republicans have been siding for, and every right-wing advocate has been siding the National Retail Federation, had said that nearly half of the industry's $94.5 billion in missing merchandise in 2021 was the result of organized theft. More than nearly half. So 42, let's say 42 billion. It was closer to 5%. 5. And then you're like, wait, how did you guys fuck this up so bad? How did you get this story out there that there was this national organized retail theft? By the way, it's because in some states, they didn't let the police show up for $1,000. And people, right-wingers, they fucking love fascism. And they love when the police can come in and they would love to see videos of somebody shoplifting, running out of the store and immediately being mowed down by like a line of policemen with bazookas, rocket
That's what Trump
launchers.
said.
Yeah, that's what they want. So pardon me if I didn't believe them in the first place, and pardon me for saying like, hey, maybe you guys didn't do any research because this sounded good to you, so you all fucking ran with it. The lobbying group, the National Retail Federation, edited the claim last week from a widely cited report issued in April after the trade publication Retail Dive revealed that faulty data had been used to arrive at the inaccurate figure. Now, I'd like you to guess where they got this figure, Felice. Any guesses?
Oh my God. I don't know.
I'll
The
tell
Republican
you.
Congress.
It was a person named Trevor, I think it's this one. Trevor Wagner, chief economist at Computer and Communications Industry Association. He's the one that figured this out. Where is this guy? I can't find who it is. Anyways, it's basically a retired police officer who's a lobbyist now for the Retail Federation, and it just came from a speech. He just said it. He said it, and then like everybody ran with it, including the lobbying group who was pushing out these ads. And by ads, I mean go to Twitter. Go to Twitter and look at these really professionally made accounts that all they do is push out like shoplifting videos. That's how they did it. They go in, they use that Steve Bannon Cambridge Analytica approach. They flood the airwaves with retail theft. Some of them, all the time, you would find
Always
if you click
before
on those
elections.
links, yeah, you'll click on it and you're like, wait, this looks bad. And then 50 comments down, you'll see somebody be like, yeah, this was like 15 years ago, or this is in Canada, or this is in England. What are you talking about? It didn't matter what the video was. They would just throw it out there. And then claiming $42 billion came from retail theft. It was 5%, which is roughly on board with what they've done forever. Like, those numbers aren't way up. Those numbers are pretty static across the year, between 3 and 6%. They might be on the high side of the between 3 and 6%. But this big national emergency, every right-winger in California being, look at these cities, they're all being looted. It was a fucking lie. It was a lie. Crime is down all over this country. We had a spike during COVID, and ever since then, every measurable type of crime has gone down under, by the way, Joe Biden. And you still have Republicans out there citing this type of nonsense garbage. They'll still be saying it. They'll still be saying it today. They'll still be, somebody in Congress will stand up and talk about how we're in this moral decline. And they do this because they actually, like, their overlords are just like, hey, help us get to fascism. We have to make the whole world think, or the whole country think, that it's falling apart. So they're gonna put all their trust in a strongman. That's why, despite all of our economic numbers getting better, all of these numbers being lied about, mostly in our country, we think things are headed in the wrong direction.
Well, this happened during the last midterms. Like, if you'll notice, when an election's coming up, corporations that give a lot of money to the Republican Party will show up on Fox News. Walmart was the main one during the last midterm elections and showed up and said, crime's out of control, crime's out of control. And then there was, if you listen to their earnings call, they reported completely different numbers on theft. And it was like right after the elections, they have an earnings call and are like, oh, just kidding. That wasn't a thing. Our breakage is actually averaging normal. Like, just kidding.
Because who cares at that point, right?
It's just a PR thing to get people to vote for the Republican Party. Crime. Uh-oh, so much crime. But, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the upcoming election, since Trump is disbanding any law enforcement, wants to disband all law enforcement agencies.
Yeah.
It will be interesting how they married the two.
It would be really easy under Trump's new way to track down anybody who had an abortion if you have complete localized control, right? And you have these states, which is not true.
Indemnify the police. That's what he was saying in his speech on Saturday. Make them unsuable, essentially. You cannot bring a lawsuit against the police. That seems like a great idea. That's what he literally said on Saturday night in his fascist speech.
Yeah, so basically, like, there is no financial burden of police for anything. And I assume when you say indemnify, you also are talking about, like, prosecuting police officers, or is this just financial?
I mean, he specifically was talking about bringing, like, if someone, like a George Floyd situation, you could not bring a lawsuit.
Okay, so we can't sue them. So you can still, I guess you can still go after the police if you'd like for criminal charges, which they're all going to cover up anyways. We know how that goes. But there will be no more civil suits. All these civil suits that you've seen against police officers in the last 20 years, most of them don't ever have criminal charges, because it's really, really hard to get the police department to work with you, to get people to testify, and to get a jury who's going to agree. But a civil case, where it's a little bit easier and you just have to show that they caused damage, but it's not going to put a police officer in jail, people are far more likely to look at the evidence, I guess, with more of an open mind. They're willing to have the state pay fines, but they won't send the police to jail. So this is going to take away any sort of retribution you have against the police. There will no longer be lawsuits. You will, if you lose a family member and the police due to police inaction, you're going to pay those bills. You're going to pay the medical bills. You're going to pay the funeral bills. You're going to pay the hospital bills, the ambulance bills. You're going to pay for any damage that occurred during that time, and you will not be able to recoup that from the police under Donald Trump's plan. Does that sound like a good plan to you, Republicans? Does that sounds good?
And the only way to get a police department to essentially modify what they're doing, change their behavior, is to hit them with money, right? That's the only thing that to bankrupt them, to bankrupt the state, and to say like, oh, this can't happen again because we can't afford it. That's when they actually make changes, is when you hit them like in the bank account. So that can't happen. I wanted to just stay really quickly on the medical care stuff we were going into and go into the I wanted to talk about the march in on patents for costly drugs. So the Biden administration is taking another crack at high prescription drug prices.
What number
So
is that again? Give me the
I
number
think
on
it's
that.
8. It's 8 or 9.
Okay, got it.
Let me recheck.
I got
Yeah,
it.
8. So what this essentially is, the federal government spends billions of dollars a year, if you don't know, on biomedical research. So the patents that are held by Big Pharma, they're not solely funding them. We are. Tax dollars are funding these patents that then Big Pharma is holding and making billions upon billions off of. Okay, so the federal government spends
it's the
billions.
research, right? We fund the research,
We
and then
do we do the medical research to develop the drugs, and then exactly. So for years, activists have pushed the government to use so-called march-in rights. So what that is when a taxpayer-funded invention. So we are funding a lot of the patents for medications that now Big Pharma is going back and charging us exorbitantly for. So when a taxpayer-funded invention isn't publicly available on reasonable terms, meaning it's too expensive for most of us to even access, for instance, a medication we need, they say the law allows the government to march in and license certain patents of high-priced drugs to other companies. So basically, because the U.S. government, we and us as taxpayers paid for that patent, we paid for the medical research that created that drug. The government can essentially say, if you won't lower the prices of this drug and make it affordable for Americans, then we're going to sell this patent to another company who will make a generic of that medication that people can afford.
yeah, it's a weird. We've done this for decades. It's a weird thing that I don't know any other country who does this, where you totally fund something, and then you give all the research so that these companies can make billions off of it, and then don't take a cut. We don't take a cut. We don't do anything to control the price of the drug. We don't do any of that. We're just like, here you go, here's free profit. And that's a great deal when you wind up being a big pharmaceutical company. You don't have to do you don't really have to pay for the research on your own. You know the government's going to pay for that. And great news, they're not going to ask for anything in return. So all that profit you make off the drug, you don't have to split that with the government. There was no research arm there that you had to pay for. The government just squared that away for you. But that means you can spend more money giving it back to the shareholders or doing some stock buybacks. That should make Americans really happy. Is that when your drugs are expensive, at least you know somewhere out there a shareholder either got some more stock or they got a nice dividend. So congratulations to all of you who can't pay for your medicine, and while these people get rich, that's a great deal.
The Biden administration, I mean, this is genius. Like, we have to attack Big Pharma. Our healthcare is impossible to pay for at this time. Nobody can afford prescription drugs. Like, I'm so tired of people saying, oh, Dark Brandon isn't doing anything. Like, this is genius. Undercutting patents that we as taxpayers paid for, and they're using to overcharge us to the point where we can't get the life-saving medication we need. Something absolutely needs to be done about this. Let me just read the quote. So, when drug companies won't sell taxpayer-funded drugs at reasonable prices, we will be prepared to allow other companies to provide those drugs for less. So if American taxpayers paid to help invent a prescription drug, the drug companies should sell it to the American public for a reasonable price. Doesn't that make sense? Isn't it insane that we paid for the creation of the drug and then they could overcharge it and price us out of being able to access what our tax dollars paid for.
No, that's crony capitalism, baby. That's what we were here for. That's what we wanted. Does my mic sound weird to you, by the way?
No, you sound normal to me.
Great. There were some people in the comments saying my mic sounded weird. Yeah, that's what we want. We want more crony capitalism. Why do you think we still have people that are like that read shit like this and go, "Nah, we can't do universal health care. We can't take control of this. We got to allow capitalism to keep doing its thing. This is working so well."
Yeah, like this really makes me upset. I think this is a genius idea though. We have to start undercutting big pharma. Even if like the march towards universal healthcare is not going to be simple, like it has to start somewhere. And I think prescription drugs are a great place. We're paying for the research, we're paying to develop the drug as taxpayers, and then they get to charge us exorbitant amounts. No, that needs to stop.
Well, luckily, I think I know I saw a quote from Trump that he's going to be releasing his healthcare plan soon. It's been coming for 7 years, but he did say that was coming soon. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Oh God, I know.
I've
been hearing that the rumors of an election's coming up when you start hearing the Republicans talk about getting rid of the Affordable Care Act. That's when you know. When you know an election's coming around. No solutions. No, not one healthcare plan has been presented as to how any of us will have healthcare that we could afford. But let's just get rid of Obamacare.
It's just going to be a one-page plan that says something like, "Don't get sick," or "Do your best not to get sick." "Make America great again. Don't get sick." That's what it'll say.
You want us to work like dogs? You should keep us healthy so we can do that.
I agree. I need to have a chat with an old friend. If we could. Hi, Miss Julie.
Hi, Jay. Hi.
How are you?
I wasn't coming up with my silliness. I was coming up to be smart today.
Hit me.
Well, I wanted to speak briefly about the existence of the Orange Book and medical patents. Are either of you familiar with the Orange Book?
No.
Okay, the Orange Book is a book that lists all the prescriptions that there are currently patents for. Okay, and it will say we're talking about, cyproheptadine. And that medication was originally patented, because it's an appetite stimulant, and it was to treat wasting in children with nutritional deficiencies. So, okay, great. That's what this medication's approved for, and we're going to give it a patent for 10 years. Now, you would think the patent would just expire in 10 years. The medication would go generic, and the public would be able to afford. Well, that's not the case. If they decide, you know what, I think we can use this to treat headaches in pregnant women. So we're going to test for that and see if that works. So they test for it and it works. They can reapply and extend their patent for another 10 years because they have found another reason to prescribe that medication. They found a new use for it. This can go on indefinitely with medications. But if anybody has any questions about their meds or wants to know when something is going to go generic or if another patent is in process that may interrupt that, you can just Google Orange Book. That's all it is, Orange Book. And you can search by any medication that you want to look up, and it will give you that information about your medication, when it will go generic, and what else may be going on with it at the time. So I just wanted to pass that information on. Yeah, it's a big racket, but I just thought that was good information for people to have. But
yeah, I didn't laugh at all, but that was very informative. I'm looking at this now. Yeah, I didn't know about that. It makes me think of hydroxychloroquine and the other one that these pharmaceutical drugs were, or the pharmaceutical drugs that were in the news by these right wingers. It would be interesting to see if any of those patents have been renewed now that they've been used to treat COVID. And then ask your right-wing friends, like, I wonder if the pharmaceutical companies had any desire to have hydroxychloroquine, which is shown to do virtually nothing. As we've looked at the studies now, it's done nothing. Ivermectin was the other one. It would be interesting to see if somebody tried to renew or did get a renewal on those patents. If anybody knows on ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, that's where my mind went first. You're muted, Felice.
I mean, those are medications that are FDA approved, but for other purposes. The purposes, they were never supposed to be prescribed for COVID. They're not
Right, but that's what
something
she's
that's
saying.
prescribed for
If you can
COVID.
find another use for it, then you can extend your
Medications,
patent another
it
10
is
years.
legal to prescribe medications off label. I take a number of psychiatric drugs. For instance, I take one for seizures. Now, I'm not an epileptic, but that drug does benefit mental health. So
Yeah,
that was
there's a lot of
originally,
anticonvulsants
yes, and
that
that
are
they
used
were
for like
originally,
bipolar treatment, like borderline. Yeah.
yeah, and they may have been prescribed off label at first, but then as testing's done and they prove that it works, they can renew the patent again and keep it at that level. So it was my anger over this medication that got me to come up so serious. But I do need to ask a technical question. I have been trying to rename my Alexa. It's not working. And if you must know, I was going to rename it Sheila because that bitch knows everything. And it won't work. I may scream at it, Sheila! Doesn't work. Doesn't help. But I did hear from her, Miss Kitty Whispers has been found. They are stopping at the spa on the way back from Florida to apparently Miss Kitty had a few little run-ins after she escaped from the IHOP over the incident with the waitress and latching on to her wig over the theft of the Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity breakfast. But they will be stopping at the spa. Miss Kitty Whisper should be home by Christmas.
I
So
can't wait.
happy ending for everyone. So I'm going to drop down now. I hope the information about the Orange Book helps somebody. Love y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you
Miss
so
Julie. I
much.
didn't know that.
Yep. Bye, Felice.
Bye.
Dude, I didn't know about the Orange Book.
Yeah, it's a list of the FDA approved. Yeah, that would be interesting to look at. But yeah, like I know that things are prescribed for different purposes, but I guess it just depends on what they're currently holding the patent for. And like, it's probably, yeah, that makes sense.
Speaking of
Okay.
renewing, Trump has renewed his anger. He's very upset at Jack Smith. He's very upset that Jack Smith has asked the Supreme Court to hear a case, basically just saying like, "Hey, we need you guys to rule on whether or not a former or current president can be charged for crimes that they committed while they were the president, and we need you to rule on that quickly because if not, we're gonna have we potentially could have a president in the White House, and we don't know what to do with that." And Trump took this really well, right? He's very happy about
Yeah.
this.
Well, so yeah, so I mean, just to go to the actual, so Jack Smith is petitioning SCOTUS, and this is about saving time, right? Like what Trump's issue is he wants this to wind through the courts with the intention of first Judge Chutkin would have to rule, then it would have to go to a court of appeals in DC, and then once it wound through the court of appeals, then it would finally get to SCOTUS. This would delay the trial date months, right? Like this is just another delay tactic in the January 6th DC trial. I believe the trial date right now is set for March 4th. And that's why, like, this is such an unprecedented move because Jack Smith is just saying, like, I'm not going to let you push this trial back months. Like, let's go ask the Supreme Court and at the same time, concurrently ask a DC Court of Appeals and cut the time, I don't even want to say in half. Like, just let's get this done as soon as possible. So Jack Smith filed
it's gonna go. It's gonna go to the top.
Well, to
No matter-
ask,
no
he
matter what,
filed
it's getting there,
yesterday.
right?
He filed yesterday.
Hold on, it's gonna
Let me
get to
just
the
finish. Let me just no.
I know. I was trying to explain. The reason he's saying this, he's basically saying it's going to get to you guys eventually anyways. No matter what the appellate court rules, if they rule in my favor or in Trump's favor, one of us is we're going to challenge that. It's getting to you anyways. So he's basically saying, let's skip all this nonsense because it's getting here anyways, right?
Well, they're not skipping the nonsense. Like it's going to concurrently be heard by the DC appellate court. like, so it's just trying to do both. So not necessarily cut them out, but just do them both concurrently. But what is going on is he submitted the request for the case to be reviewed, to review the case, whether or not they will hear it. So it's not saying, so the Supreme Court immediately, like, he filed it yesterday, just to give you an idea. And the Supreme Court said, yes, we will review it. So not they will officially hear the case, but they will review it to decide if they will hear it, because there needs to be 4 justices who agree to hear a case in order for it to be then heard. So Trump has until, I believe, December 20th at 4 p.m. Eastern to submit his argument, right? Because Jack Smith submitted his legal brief for this case. And so now the lawyers have till December 20th, like for Trump's lawyers, to submit their argument, and then they will review and see if 4 justices want to hear the case, which they most likely will. This is unprecedented.
It was his statement, as usual, put out from the Trump campaign, was well written, not riddled with typos or spelling errors or strange quotations or words that are capitalized. It was definitely totally normal. But at the end of it, this is what I don't get sometimes about you Trump people. Like, just explain this. This is not what sane people do. No sane person would say there's absolutely no reason to rush this witch hunt to trial except to injure President Trump and his 150 million at least supporters. He got 70 million votes, 75 million votes. What do you get? 74 million votes?
Yeah, something right around there.
A total of 150 million people voted last election, and here he is saying it's at least 150 million.
And he still had to say at least. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Because even the number 150 million, like, when he was dictating this to whoever was typing it up, because we know Trump can't type. Like, he
they
was
were
like,
like
150 million at least. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't enough to just make the outrageous claim of 150 million. Then he had to throw in the at least. I'm going to read it, though. So he pulled out the letterhead. This wasn't a normal truth, right? When the Supreme Court when Jack Smith went to the Supreme Court, they agreed to review the case to see if they'd hear it. This was statement from Trump's spokesperson. This is the literal letterhead title. Statement from Trump's spokesperson on deranged Jack Smith's filing with the Supreme Court.
Felice, I muted you on accident.
Sorry. Crooked Joe Biden's henchman, deranged Jack Smith, is so obsessed with interfering in the 2024 presidential election with the goal of preventing President Trump from retaking the Oval Office, as the president is poised to do, that Smith is willing to try for a Hail Mary by racing to the Supreme Court and attempting to bypass the appellate process. Quote, deranged may need to be reminded. So now they're just calling Jack Smith deranged. Deranged may need to be reminded that the Supreme Court has not been kind to him, including by handing down a rare unanimous rebuke when the court overturned him 8-0 in the McDonald case. As President Trump has said over and over again, this prosecution is completely politically motivated. It is an unprecedented attack against crooked Joe Biden's political opponent, Banana Republic style. There is absolutely no reason to rush this witch hunt to trial except to injure President Trump and his 150 million at least supporters. President Trump will continue to fight for justice and oppose these authoritarian tactics.
Authoritarian.
Using the judicial system is not authoritarian, actually.
There is nothing. I've said it. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. There is nothing more authoritarian than going through multiple courts, having a jury of your peers, and a judge to arbitrate. There's nothing more authoritarian than involving hundreds of people in your case to try and determine the outcome. There's nothing I could think of more authoritarian than that.
Yeah, this is, I mean, I can't wait. I'm excited for the Supreme Court to hear this, because this literally, depending on how the Supreme Court rules, I just want to give everyone an idea because Trump supporters would love this. They love the idea of this, right? Because this is my argument all the time with MAGA supporters. Like they never follow the line of logic through to the end, right? So if this, let's say the Supreme Court said, "Oh yeah, Trump can't be prosecuted for anything he did while he was president and he has absolute immunity." Okay, then so does Joe Biden, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we don't
If he
need to
wins,
impeach him.
yeah,
Like we don't need to do any of this, right?
you can't. In fact, he's the sitting president. You can't do this. Not only
And so he doesn't need to leave office either.
you can't
Like
and you shouldn't investigate Joe Biden according to what Donald Trump is saying here.
that's the point. It's like if the Supreme Court rules with Donald Trump, then our sitting president is essentially absolutely immune from any wrongdoing.
Which is terrific.
Like
Then
which
we
is
have
actually
President.
worse for Trump.
Then we have President Kamala, and then I don't know. It's just
Yeah, he
Democrats
can,
forever.
and so Joe Biden doesn't have to leave office. He can just appoint, he's a king. Joe Biden's the king in office who's absolutely immune, and he can just appoint Kamala as the next queen. Like, I don't think Republicans have thought through what this really is. It doesn't, they're not,
Yeah.
Trump's not the president right now. This is not going to help you.
If you think Jack Smith is just like Joe Biden's personal vendetta go-getter, and you hate Jack Smith, then maybe what you shouldn't do is advocate to the Supreme Court that Joe Biden and the president be allowed to do whatever they want and send people like Jack Smith to do whatever they want them to do. Maybe if you think the government is corrupt entirely, you shouldn't advocate that the government, specifically the executive branch, be given all the power. Maybe, but don't tell Republicans.
Do you
Don't
see
tell
the irony?
Republicans.
Like you're
Yeah.
saying that this whole government is corrupt. We have to drain the swamp, but you're proposing to give the Biden crime, the head, the patriarch of your alleged Biden crime family, absolute power and immunity.
Yeah. That would be
What?
an incredible ruling here if they just ruled that the president can do
It
whatever.
solves all our problems. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like solves my problems. So I do hope that this goes through for Trump.
Poor guy. Poor guy. He's
yeah,
doing his
they're
best.
not using his brain.
He's just being picked on, Felice. I don't know why we've chosen to pick on this Donald Trump guy. I think it's really unfair. I think that he's trying
He's
his
just a
very
nice
best, and he
man.
just wants what's best for this country. He wants to make America great again. Just over and over, he wants to make it great, and we're not letting him.
Are any of the people requesting, are you guys ops? James Dean backup? Are you an op? Are you opposition?
Dustaroni pretends to be op sometimes.
I
Let me
know.
see what Jake said. Go. Or I meant Jen. I don't know why I said Jake. Sorry about my
Oh,
mic
he
for
says
some
yes.
of you.
He says he is. So I'm going to bring James Dean up.
Go
Is
ahead.
that cool?
Yeah.
Okay. Love the name. Hi.
How y'all doing? Hang on, man. Let me get a place with you. Hi. I was told to come here.
What'd you say?
I was told to come here.
Uh-oh. What for?
I was told on my live that I needed to come here and get schooled.
Oh, okay. What were you talking about?
Well, we were talking about, well, I wasn't really talking about it. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Good guy.
Good Trouble?
Good guy.
Oh, I don't know who that is. No.
Well, he claims to know you. He told me that I needed to come to you because you had it all figured out, that you had all the answers.
Oh, well, there you go. What answers are you looking for, James?
Well, he tried to argue with me that Trump had zero policies.
What policies does he have? Well, I'd say he has policies. I wouldn't argue that he has zero policies. I just don't think any of them help us. They just mostly help him.
Help me.
What policies helped you?
The farm bill.
Oh, like, so did you get some money from the government?
I did, and I got some taxes knocked off on my land too.
Yeah. Do you know why you
This
got
is
that?
James Dean. I don't know why y'all keep saying I'm not James Dean. I am James Dean. Promise.
You know why you got that money from Trump?
Well, Hell, I don't know. I pay taxes, so I figured, they work for us. So
So what happened is Donald Trump got in a trade war with China, and he put tariffs on some Chinese goods. And what they did instead is they issued retaliatory tariffs, meaning that a lot of the agriculture that we send to China, they said, we're just not going to buy that anymore. And it cost American farmers billions of dollars. And so Trump had to rely on the taxpayers to bail you guys out. He had to pay you guys back because he screwed things up so badly that he had to give you a tax break and a check. He was so bad at trade that he had to send you a check in the mail as an apology. And we as the taxpayers paid for it.
well, I'm a taxpayer too, so I'm paying for it.
Yeah, we all did. But and look, I'm happy that you got the subsidy. I think he did the right thing giving that subsidy to you.
Right here, when Obama bailed out all these banks and stuff, didn't taxpayer pay for that?
Yeah. But you want to know what the difference was there, James? When Obama bailed out the banks, he put in provisions that the banks actually had to pay us back the money that we used to bail them out. Now, because the American farmers aren't going to be asked to pay this back, this is just money that we paid. We didn't get any of it back. There's bailouts all the time, and I'm glad you got a bailout. You should get a bailout, but you should also recognize that the only reason you needed a bailout is because that dumbass got in a trade war with China and cost us billions of dollars. He didn't need to do that. If he understood trade imbalances or tariffs at all, he wouldn't have done this. This was not a popular move. This was something that many people predicted he would do, and many people predicted that we would have to bail out the farmers, which we did. And I'm glad you guys got that money. That's what I'm glad that happened.
For the record now, I am a Trump voter. The first time I ever voted was for Trump.
Okay.
Because I've always been anti-government to begin with. When I first seen a Trump sticker, I was at Bass Pro Shop up in Macon, Georgia, and I laughed at it. I thought, this is a fucking joke right here.
I still think that every time I see one. I still think it's funny that people are convinced that one, he did a good job, and two, that he should be in charge again.
Now, from what I understand, he did a good job because the economy was booming, and I seen my wife's 401k go up skyrocketing.
Well, sure. And when did it dip?
Come in and started dropping, and then she wound up.
No, James Dean. Let's be honest. Was it Joe Biden? Was it because Joe Biden came in, or was it because of COVID?
I don't really know what the reason was.
It
happened to happen when he come in.
Well, it didn't actually. It happened at the tail end of Trump's administration. The stock market started drying. The stock market was taking dives at the end of Trump's administration.
2022.
What's that?
My wife got cancer.
Okay, but hold on. We're not there yet. We have to cover this. The economic collapse of the country started under Trump. Joe Biden took over and we had 9% unemployment. Our unemployment now is lower than at any time during Trump's presidency. The stock market has recovered virtually everything it lost with COVID and then some. Like we all the economic indicators you can brag about with Trump, Biden has beat those numbers.
Well, I mean, can we agree on this right here? We're probably not going to agree on a lot. That COVID kind of hindered Trump.
Yeah, and it hindered Joe Biden too.
Okay.
Joe Biden took over a country in the middle of
we agree on something.
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
Man. Wow, that's great. We're agreeing.
Yeah, that's why we have to look at these numbers not as like what did Trump do versus what did Biden do, but like what was our economy actually doing and what was the right move. And a lot of times we just look at the economic indicator and we say, like with Trump, it was, the taxes were low, 401k was high, unemployment was low, so he must have done it. So he did a great job. But then if I show you those same numbers with Biden, you're like, no, he's not doing a good job. So we've got to go further than just like those economic indicators to decide who's doing a good job, because they both had really good numbers, and everybody on the right's going to say Joe Biden sucks, and everybody on the left is going to say Trump sucks. So we've probably got to figure out a different way to decide like how somebody became a good president.
In my opinion, they both suck.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. But how are you going to, how do you choose to vote?
Both of them have talked the stupidest shit.
So how do you decide how to vote?
Hell, I'm at a damn country here because I don't really know who I want to vote for. because neither candidate really suits my taste.
Well, what's important to you?
Not having a damn criminal as a president.
Well, then you
The
understand. Yeah, Trump's under like a bunch of indictments, right? And
Yeah,
and Joe
that's
Biden's
another
under
thing.
zero.
Let's jump in that real quick. If
Yeah.
Trump's guilty of one thing, why do you need 91 indictments? If you got something on him, then you don't need 91 charges.
Wait, what? No, that's exactly why you need 91 charges, because he did not
Why is
things
that?
wrong. He did 91 things wrong. He just did a lot of things wrong.
I've looked at these indictments and they just repeat themselves over the same thing: conspiracy, 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 conspiracy.
James, I don't
That's an
believe.
easy thing. I watch people get charged with conspiracies, and that's the easiest way to charge somebody in a court of law.
James, he's not like the charges. It's not conspiracy. I don't believe. Hold on. I don't believe that you've read them. If you had read these charges, you would know what the charges were, and you would know that they're not repetitive.
I have read a
Sorry, James, I muted you on accident. I did it again. I'm trying to figure out my mic while we're going. James, I muted you. That's on me. You got to unmute.
Oh, damn, what was I?
You're good now.
I forgot what the hell I was talking about. Remind me. What I was talking about.
James, could you just be honest? You didn't read the indictments.
I did read them. Now, do I have them stored in my brain? I don't have a motherboard for a brain, and I do work on my own farm, so I have other things to keep up with. That's why I pay the government to take care of this shit.
Well, could you tell me what just like one of the charges is? Like, let's talk about Georgia. What's he being charged with in Georgia?
The Georgia case is to do with the damn election or January 6th shit or some kind of shit like that. Hell, I can't really remember exactly. And I'm from Georgia.
Yeah, so then you know that what he tried to do in Georgia is he brought up a fake set of electors. He tried to pressure a bunch of people to lie about the election being stolen, and he created a whole conspiracy theory about it being stolen when it wasn't. People's lives wound up being threatened. People have lost a ton of money in fighting cases. Businesses have gone, businesses.
Why are you people in the comments saying, of course, I'm from Georgia? What's wrong with being in Georgia?
Hey, don't pay
I
attention.
love it here.
There's nothing wrong with being from Georgia, sir.
It's wonderful here.
That's right. Go Dogs. Go Dogs. I hear it.
Yeah, they done good this year. What, 12.0?
I'm just saying, Jay, like everybody around you says that they're probably mostly everybody around you is a Trump supporter. But if you're reading these indictments and you're honestly looking at them like as what's true and what's not, like the evidence is overwhelming that Donald Trump committed crimes. And Donald Trump, at this point, has offered no real defense against any of these charges, other than to say, nobody likes me.
Well, that's a whiny ass politician for you anyway. They all do that.
It could also be somebody with no defense who committed a bunch of crimes and hasn't figured out a way to defend themselves, right?
I'm not trying to defend Trump on what he's saying about the elections, but let me tell you something. From being from here in Georgia, I have watched down to the county level with sheriff elections and stuff. We vote for the dead a lot down here. Let me just put it that way. These
No, you don't.
elections
No,
are
you don't.
up to shit down here in the South, and that's just a fact.
It's not a fact.
That's
James.
not a fact.
Watched it
That's the
all my
problem.
life. I've seen it in my newspapers, and I have watched it literally happen.
Have you ever looked? Well, I don't know how you watched a dead person vote, but have you ever looked
No, they
at?
got caught. The people got caught doing the shit.
Hold on, let me help you with something, though, James. So we have, again, if somebody got caught doing it,
Yeah.
then that means that a dead person didn't vote. We have measures in all of our elections, and we have rolls, and we check against rolls, we check against death certificates. It's true that in every election there are some votes that shouldn't count, but we catch them. That's why you know about them. You know about them because we caught them, and we caught them through the checks that we have in our system. Our election systems are maybe probably the most secure in the world. And our election officials that were put in place by Donald Trump, they were Donald Trump voters, Donald Trump supporters, said specifically this was the most safe and secure election in United States history.
Well, why did Stacey Abrams have such a shit fit that she won the state of Georgia?
What?
Stacey Abrams.
Who?
She claimed that she won the state of Georgia right on. Hell, she still ain't damn said that she lost.
I don't believe that's true.
I believe it is. You might want to fact check that while you're fact checking. I ain't much of a fact checker. I just see what happens, and I live here.
Yeah, she conceded. She conceded one day after the vote concluded. She conceded on November 8th.
Well,
see, this is the game that they play with you. This is the game that they play with you. When I bring up, hold on. This is the game they play with you. Whenever somebody brings up something about Trump, you need to have an opposite. Somebody else you can say did the same thing. Now, even if Stacey Abrams did say the election was still stolen, which she didn't because she conceded, you're allowed to say that. You're allowed to. Donald Trump is not being prosecuted because he's going around the country saying the election was stolen. That's protected speech. That's free speech. He can lie to you, and that is free speech. He is under no obligation to tell you the truth. It's free speech. What you can't do is go behind the scenes and try and manipulate the system to overturn an election. That's what he's being charged for. So it doesn't matter if Stacey Abrams to this day was still saying that the election was stolen. That's not a crime. Donald Trump, there are 0 charges for Donald Trump saying the election was stolen. He's not being charged for that. He's being charged for what he did to try and overturn the election.
And I just want to say specifically, just like I have the January 6th indictment here. And I just want to point out 2 things. Like, number one, so you're talking about specifically the dead voters. This is a pet peeve of mine in Georgia. So the defendant in this indictment is Trump, right? Trump insinuated that, I'm reading from, just to be clear, page 8, section 12, letter A. The defendant insinuated that more than 10,000 dead voters had voted in Georgia just 4 days earlier. Georgia's Secretary of State. So Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, on that perfect phone call, had explained to him that this was not true, that they had audited it, and in fact, there were not dead voters. And then, so furthermore, I just want to go on to Rudy Giuliani and his role in it. So an agent of the defendant and Rudy Giuliani, who's co-conspirator 1, falsely claimed that more than 10,000 dead people had voted in Georgia. That afternoon, a senior advisor to the defendant told the defendant's chief of staff so that's Mark Meadows, told Mark Meadows in text messages, just an FYI, a campaign lawyer and his team verified that the 10,000 plus supposed dead people voting in Georgia, it is not accurate. It was alleged in Rudy Giuliani's hearing today. The senior advisor clarified that they believed that the actual number was 12.
Okay, you don't have to
now, and no, I know, and they did
I
know, and they did a further audit. They did a further audit after a congressional hearing, and the election official for the state election official, or the guy that's ahead of the Georgia state elections, came to a congressional hearing and said after further audits, that number is 4.
You don't have to convince me about Rudy Giuliani. I'm probably a lot older than y'all are, so I remember when he defended the damn Sackler family with the OxyContin thing.
Yeah,
he
did do that, didn't he?
Defend the damn terror.
Wait, but hold on. This is why you were sent to us, so that you didn't get distracted by finding things we can agree on. You understand that what you said is you've been in Georgia a long time. You know that lots of dead people voted. Donald Trump claimed it was 5,000. The actual
10,000.
number. 10,000. On the call, I think he said 5,000, though. And then he said it could be up to 10,000. The actual number was
11,000 or some odd.
That was the total amount of votes he needed. But if you listen to the call, they throw out a bunch of numbers. But the total number, and I need you to hear this, the total number of dead voters was 4. And we caught all 4 instances of those, and those votes didn't count. So that means there were 0 votes by people who were not alive at the time that they voted that counted. And Donald Trump is still going around arguing this so that you guys will believe that it was okay for him to break the law.
I'm not easily convinced by anybody.
Well, you were pretty easily convinced that a bunch of dead people voted in Georgia.
Yeah, so let's listen to that. So this is on the perfect call.
y'all?
This is,
How old y'all?
listen, page
It doesn't
16,
matter.
little
Yes, it
letter
does.
C.
How
Listen,
old are
the
you?
defendant, listen, Trump claimed
With
that 5,000 dead
some
people, Trump claimed that
competent
5,000 dead people voted in Georgia,
I
causing
know
the
y'all got your
Secretary
little
of State,
computers and all
Brad
that stuff.
Raffensperger, to
Hey,
respond. Listen, James.
While she's talking, can you just be quiet for a second?
Will you let
Listen.
me speak, son?
Yeah, you can go
Stop-
next. I
After
promise.
I'm
You
done.
can
That's how it
respond.
works, James. We take turns. So, this is what Trump said on the perfect phone call. The defendant claimed that 5,000 dead people voted in Georgia, causing the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, to respond, quote, "Well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong. The actual number were two people that were dead that voted. And so your information's wrong. That was two." End quote. Which the point is not the exact number, whether it's 2 or 4. The point is that he was being told over and over in real time while this conspiracy was developing that his information that he was putting out to the public was false. Your own Brad Raffensperger was saying, this is not true. We've done our own audit. They
Hey, I
tried in
voted-
Georgia to
I
help
voted
Trump.
for
They
Brad
wanted to
Raffensperger.
find the votes. They couldn't find them.
I had to vote for him because he was the only one that was on the ballot. So
He also seems to be a person, and this is funny. Like, what do you mean he's the only one on the ballot? This is one of the only people in the country who stood up for what was right and stopped lying to you, James. He's one of the only Republicans in your state who was willing to not lie to you, to stand up and take the brunt of all the angry Republicans who have come after him. He was one of the very few Republicans with a conscience and who told the truth, and he's hated. You're saying like you had to vote for him? You're lucky that you have a Brad Raffensperger. Georgia's lucky to have Brad Raffensperger. Everybody should vote for that guy. He has shown that in the face of crisis, he will do what's right rather than what's politically expedient. He is a good person.
Yeah, Georgia has impressed me, James.
good
You should be
people have
proud
good
of your
laws.
state officials. You should be proud of your state officials in Georgia for saying, we're not going to just make up something and lie to the people of Georgia because Trump is pressuring us to. That's what he did to Brad Raffensperger. He implied that he was going to prosecute him unless he found the votes that he needed. That's what he did on that call. He implied that he would put him in jail unless he found the votes. And Brad Raffensperger said, no, not here in Georgia. We're from Arizona, Jay and I. So we actually are from another one of these states who's the state. Listen, I don't get along with the Republicans that run the state legislature in Arizona.
like
But when it
Republicans.
mattered, they stood up and they said, no, we're not just going to go along with a lie. So you should be proud of your state officials, of Brian Kemp. Like,
I am proud of Brian Kemp. He has done wonderful things here in Georgia. We don't have to have a pay to have a damn carry license, open carry, or concealed carry. I mean, he's done a lot of things, and then there's some state taxes on gas tax that he's taken off for us and stuff. I'm all for Brian Kemp.
but the most important thing is that they've shown, even in the face of extreme pressure, they'll stand up for the truth.
Look, I'm wearing a Georgia Bulldog hat, not a Trump hat. I'm not wearing a MAGA hat. Okay?
Go Dogs.
Yeah, we're just saying, and all we're saying is that like this is what we're not asking all Republicans to stop being Republicans. We're asking you guys to stop voting for. Whatever. You voted for Trump, so that right now you're a Republican voter.
I'm an independent that voted for Trump.
Brother, I hear you. It doesn't matter. We're just asking people who voted for Trump once before to recognize that number one, that was a mistake, and number two, that it would be a bigger mistake to vote for him again. It does not matter whoever is running against Trump. It really shouldn't matter. The number one thing to all Americans should be, do we want fascism or do we want democracy? And if you want democracy, you cannot vote for Trump. He's running on fascism. And if you want fascism, go ahead and vote for Trump. But we're going to keep calling everybody who votes for him a fascist because he's telling you, I'm going to be a fascist.
I am not a MAGA. My profile says
James, pay attention to me. Stop reading the comments. I'm not bringing you up here to react to comments.
Be cover the comments up. So they just
Yeah, but just
scroll.
talk to me. But you're just talking to me. Stop looking at the comments.
It's hard not to. It's scrolling. There's
I get it. I do this every day. Just look away from the camera. Just look out. Pretend I'm sitting across from you. Don't look at the camera. That's what I do. There we go. We turned off the comments for you.
All bullshit aside, we could probably all go out there to the fishing hole and have a good time.
We could, but before we do that, I need you to understand that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy and a threat to this nation. And as a proud Georgian bulldog, you should not vote for fascism. You should vote for democracy.
Well, I mean, I do vote for democracy, but we're a constitutional republic. The democracy comes along with that.
Correct. So you're not going to, there's no chance in 2024 you're voting for Donald Trump, right?
What everybody tells me he's going to be in prison by then, so there's no way.
Well, if he's not in prison, are you going to vote for him? If it's Joe Biden versus Donald Trump and he's not in prison, are you going to vote for him?
I don't know what I'm going to do. At this point right here, who do I need to be voting for?
Not literally anybody but the guy who says, I want to end democracy. The guy that says, I want fascism now, don't vote for him. Vote for anybody but him.
He said he wanted to end democracy?
They literally asked him 2 days ago if he was going to be a fascist, and he's like, only on day one.
Oh, you talking about the dictatorship where he said he's going to drill and close the border. Well, I totally agree with her there to begin with.
Doesn't matter. Here's the problem. Whether you... This is the... James, hold on. This is the problem with fascism. James, this is the problem with fascism. You have to set...
context.
No, I'm not. You have to separate... James, you have to separate agreeing with what somebody wants to do and how they want to do it. He wants to take full control and be able to do whatever he wants. That's fascism. So no matter if he does things that you like or dislike, you still should probably vote for not fascism. Do you want Joe Biden to make all the decisions for this country?
No.
Then you should not vote for Donald Trump to give himself that power.
How's he gonna have that power? We have a three-tiered justice system, and we have the House, we have Senate, and then you have the power of the White House, the presidency. So
let's talk about that. Yeah. So let's talk about that. Here's
that
what
will not be allowed.
So let's talk about that. Let's look at what he's done. When you look at the House of Representatives, every single person in power in the House of Representatives is somebody who will do what...
to interrupt you, but y'all please don't report me for smoking and get his live taken down.
I won't. All the people in House leadership and Senate leadership, for the most part, will do whatever Donald Trump says. So he's pretty protected in the Senate. We already know that the judges that he appointed are willing to lie to us about what they will agree with. Those judges have been put in place. They've been paid. There's proof that they've been paid by people who want fascism. The people who authored Project 2025, which I'm sure you haven't read, but it's what Trump is running on. All of these.
Can you explain that to me? I don't fully understand that 2025 stuff. I've heard people talking about it, and I don't have time to sit around and do all this research and stuff. Like I say, I run a damn ranch out here, a cattle ranch.
Yeah, it's essentially it's the Republican plan for 2025, which Donald Trump would take office in January of 2025, and it's their plan to restore conservatism to the country in 2025. But what they're advocating for in that, because conservative ideas are not popular. That's why you guys have lost every popular election for decades now. You guys haven't won a popular vote in decades because your ideas are less popular. So in order to get those
market,
what's that?
You don't believe in free market?
That's not a Republican idea. I'm talking about the things that you guys legislate. Democrats believe in a free market too. That's just a lie you've been told. But hold on. Hey, if you're going to ask me to explain something, let's not derail it. I'm explaining Project 2025.
I'm follow you because I like talking to you. I'm just carrying on a conversation like we'd be sitting around a damn campfire with some damn Budweiser and run our mouths.
My man. Okay, so Project 2025 is going to give the president control over a lot of things. Control over the FBI, deciding who they investigate, control over the elections, control over FTC and FCC, and essentially making all of his actions so that nobody can prosecute him or anybody that does what he says.
Damn, that sounds
So
like a
they
funnel.
and they have to have that in place, because a lot of what they're proposing will go against the will of the people and will require people, judges and people in Congress, to do and agree with unpopular opinions by the country. They need to have a plan. They need to have the right people in place so that they can take back what they've lost. But what you guys have lost is due to the country not siding with you on your policies. And since you're upset about that, and you guys can't get back the policies you want, you're just going to take more government control and go take them. That's what Project 2025 is.
Brother, I am not upset at all. I am a very calm person. I'm happy with my life.
I was just talking about the Republicans in Congress. That's what I meant by you guys.
They're a bunch of damn crybabies. Hell, so are the Democrats. All
Well,
them-
I think that that's too.
They
Look,
need
we
to
can't
work
just.
together. They all need to
James.
get off of this childish stuff they doing and work together. And
Okay,
work
then you have to, James, in order for that to happen, you have to start holding them accountable. You can't just say things like, oh, they're all bad, they all need to work together. No, you need to individually hold them accountable. The people that you vote for, you need to know what the people you're voting for do and say and support. And if they don't do that, then don't support them, and maybe be a little more vocal about the scary things that they're doing.
You know, I get kicked out of MAGA lives all the damn time because I disagree with them. If I disagree with them, they throw me out.
Yeah, that's MAGA. That's literally what they're doing. That's what Project 2025 is. If people disagree with us, we'll just do it anyways.
Most Democrats do the same thing to me.
No, that's not. No, well, that's fine, but look, dude, this is really difficult to have a conversation with you, to be honest, because we're talking about 2025, and then you're jumping to MAGA people who kicked you out of Alive and us who aren't, and we like a conversation. But the biggest problem with this country is not our elected officials. It's not Congress doing nothing. It's apathetic voters. Voters who say things generically like, we have to come together, everybody sucks, it's all a problem. Like, that's the actual problem. People who don't educate themselves and who don't take real opinions so that they can have an opinion, but the opinion is everything sucks, and then you don't have to really know anything that's going on. The problem is us, the voter base. We have to stop blaming everybody in power. If you didn't know that only 4 dead voters voted in Georgia and you thought it was a huge problem, that's on you. You should have known that. If you don't know about the 91 charges with Trump and what each one are, that's on you. You should know that. If you don't know about Project 2025, that's on you. You should know that. We can't keep blaming politicians because we don't know things.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I love y'all. Through the grace of God, I love every one of y'all. Even the people in the comments just saying all this stuff about me. I love you.
Did you by chance hear a word that I said, just out of curiosity?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hey,
So what do you think about what I said?
I went to technical college and I had a 4.0 GPA. So
what do you think about what I just said then?
Well, I mean, you're telling me all kinds of different things. You're basically saying that MAGA's bad, and I don't need to vote for Trump.
Oh man, that's not even close to what I just said. I don't know that you were listening. I'm saying that if you don't know things, James Dean, you need to learn things. You should not, based on what you've told me today of what you know, you really shouldn't have an opinion at all. Your opinion doesn't matter a whole lot because you haven't educated yourself. But in this country, we all think that we should have opinions. We all think our opinions should be weighted the same. If you don't research and you don't understand what's happening, then why would anybody listen to your opinion? What's the point? And why do you think you should have an opinion?
I reckon my opinion don't matter to them.
Wait, can you make sure not to smoke on the camera, please? But yeah, why does your opinion matter to you? Like, if you haven't done any research on this stuff, why do you even care about your opinion? Your opinion is just based on like feelings, right?
No.
All right. Mostly it has seemed like that, but
can I tell you a little story real quick?
Please.
Me and my wife have our grandchildren that we're raising, My kids are grown, so I'm coughing because I have a cold. Believe it or not, common colds still exist.
Brother, stop reading the comments. God damn. Let's go. You can do this.
Okay. Well, okay. I'm gonna get to the point. Anyway, me and my wife, my wife and I, we are taking care of our grandchildren through foster. We're about to get custody of them, and I care about their future, which I care about my children's future too. But they're grown, so they're almost 30 years old. They can fend for themselves. But we have these kids, and I keep looking around at all the crazy stuff that's going on, and it scares the damn hell out of me. For them, not for me. I'm not scared of anything, but it scares me for them, for their sake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah. So what I'd say is like, look at where look at what's going to be important in the future generations. Look at the things that they're not going to have. Like, nobody can afford a house right now. Nobody can afford health care. Your grandchildren's future looks grim. Your grandchildren's future looks like they're going to be working for some big corporation for shitty wages. They'll have to rent their entire life. They'll not create like any real network. Just statistically, that's what's going to happen. Not saying they can't be the person who makes it, but statistically, that's what's going to happen. So for you, as somebody who's looking towards their future, maybe you advocate for healthcare that isn't expensive, or healthcare that's covered for them, or affordable housing, or free education. So things that could actually help them. But instead, like if you decide to support the Republican Party, what are you advocating for your grandchildren? You're advocating to close the border and like what?
Yeah, please don't take me wrong on this. I'm not bragging at all, but I own 200 acres of land and I own several houses on this land. So they're pretty much set as far as that goes.
No, they're not. What are you talking about? Do you economically? I don't know. If
You're
you
in a
understand,
dying economic industry that Trump helped to tank further. Like, he did the right thing, subsidizing the farming industry after his disastrous trade war and tariffs with China. Like, he did the right thing with the farm bill, but that still crippled the industry. He's not innovating your industry. He just put a Band-Aid on a situation.
Do I need to sell all my cattle?
No, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, where do you see the future of farming and ranching?
Do I need to sell all my cattle and just get out of it then?
Sir, are you listening to what I'm saying?
I am. I'm asking you a question. Do I need to sell all my cattle and just get out of it?
I mean, how are you feeling about it? Should you sell all your cattle? No, I'm not telling you to liquidate your holdings, sir. What I'm telling you is, you came up here and were like, the 2018 Farm Bill. And I'm saying that was just a Band-Aid. Trump made an oopsie, right? He tried to be tough and go at President Xi, and it turned out to be a disaster for him. And then he used taxpayer dollars, your money, our money, to subsidize the farming industry. So there wasn't a huge crash, right? But that didn't do anything to help farmers.
Help me. I'm a farmer.
So because of yes, put a Band-Aid over what your losses would otherwise be, right? Yes, but that's what I'm saying. He's not changing the industry. He's not creating a future in farming, right? Commercial farming are putting farmers like yourself out of business. Like, Trump has come up with no solutions to that. Right? As our population grows and the food demands increase, farmers like yourself are farmers and ranchers. My grandfather was one in southern Minnesota, are being put out of business, right? Farmers are actually quite progressive. You should be voting Democrat. My grandfather did, right? Farmers are the original progressive socialists. Your co-op, you should be creating co-ops to compete against commercial farmers. Right? Against commercial farm operations that are threatening to put you all out of business. You guys should be combining your resources and creating co-ops. That's what should be happening. And so you should actually be voting Democrat.
It's good to talk to intelligent people to understand how much goes into farming, because most people don't understand what we have to do.
You hear what I'm saying. So you're asking me the future of your voting record. Just like my grandfather, who was We won't go into it, but probably culture wars, definitely far right, but voted Democrat because he was a farmer and understood that commercial farming was moving in. His operation was threatened. He band together with other farmers in the area, right, to have more buying power, negotiating power. That's the future of farming, and those are progressive platforms, right? Democratic socialism are the platform is what that falls under.
You understand that we farmers, we help each other out then, right?
Yes, I do. You guys are
Yeah,
the
and we
like originator
and
of co-ops.
we also helped you out. Remember that. Would you rather have the government cut you a check to pay your bills, or would you rather have your farm cut you a check to pay the bills?
I'd rather not be dependent on the government.
Exactly. But right now, because of how farming has gone, exactly what Felice is discussing, like because factory farms and big corporate farms and these big corporations have unlimited money, they've just been going around this country buying up farms like yours. And in order for farms like yours to stay afloat, and farms all across the Midwest, even in my state, in order for those farms to not go under and operate independently, the government has to subsidize them. We have to give you tax cuts. Sometimes we have to give you payments, and again, I'm fine with that. But what you're talking about, and you alluded to it earlier, is this is that free market capitalism that you guys love so much. That your entire industry has been decimated by a handful of corporations who basically make all the beef, all the chicken, all the turkey, and you're left like kind of in this niche area, right, where you have specific buyers, but you're not going to be selling to a giant wholesaler. It's not your stuff probably in Costco, unless you have some sort of co-op where you guys are pooling your stuff together to sell to a big distributor. Your industry has been decimated by the very free market that you claim to love, mostly because the politicians that you continue to vote for keep giving tax breaks and loopholes to these corporations. They're doing nothing for you. Since Ronald Reagan, they've been nothing but make it harder for you to make a good living as a farmer, and yet farmers are still convinced that because Republicans come from their states, that they must be doing what's best for the farmers, but they're not. Behind closed doors, every time they make every time they pass a bill, it's not to help you, it's to help the corporations.
I know you don't want me to read the comments, but I am not a communist. So,
all right. Well, the reason I don't want you to read the comments is because I just spent like 2 minutes trying to talk to you about something, and instead of listening to me, you read the comments, and now you're not responding to what I say, and I think that's kind of annoying.
I'd like to just get your phone number, just have y'all's phone number with you.
Yes, dog. Well, you're right here. You can talk to me right now, and you're not doing it. You're just talking to the comments.
I'm trying not to
what's
look
the
at
point?
it, so it keeps getting my attention.
Okay, well, stop looking at it. Did you hear what I said about your farms and why farming is going under?
I did.
So what do you think you should vote for? Do you think you should keep voting for politicians like Republicans who just vote to give tax breaks to big corporations that are going to take your jobs and take your revenues? Or do you think maybe you should start voting for people that want to protect the workers?
I've gotten so confused with our government to where I just really don't know what I need to do. Can I be honest with you about it?
Yeah, but I think the reason that you're confused is because when people take the time to explain things to you, you don't listen. You haven't. Nothing we've said today has gone in, like, has stayed in your head. Your responses to everything we say are so off the wall. It's like you're not hearing anything.
I am hearing everything you're saying. You're saying
okay. So let me ask you
the wrong way because it's not in my benefit as a farmer that I need to be voting the opposite way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You should educate yourself on which party is going to do what's best for you. Stop being distracted by people saying, like, talking about the border and trans people and anti-LGBTQ. Stop listening to the people who are just playing to, like, what they believe your religious beliefs are, and start listening to the people who are actually going to help you.
Yeah, nobody's going to convince me to not believe in Jesus Christ, so that's not going to happen. And as far as what people do in their own bedrooms, I could care less.
Good, then stop voting for people that want to legislate what we do in the bedroom, and stop legislating people that want to tell people about Jesus Christ while they're on Capitol Hill. That's not their role. There's no place for Jesus Christ on Capitol Hill in any bill. That's a personal relationship these people can have. But the thing is they've realized that if they stand up there and talk about Jesus and they talk about how important their faith is, that no matter what they do, people like you will vote for them because they're like, oh, that's a Christian just like me. They must be doing the right thing. But they're not. They're not doing anything to help you. They're just up there talking about Jesus and giving out corporate handouts. It's like the opposite of Jesus.
In the same note, you know the Lord loves you, right? Both.
I do not believe in God. I am not a Christian. I think it's a silly conversation to have.
Man, why?
I was a Christian for a long time. There is no evidence.
So was I.
I was not.
There's no evidence of God, and to me, most of the things I see Christian organizations do, I think would be handled much better by a non-Christian organization. I think it is a net negative on society. I think religion should go away, but I'm not going to ask for it to go away because it's a choice. But if in a perfect world there would be nobody who believed in a Sky Daddy.
Sky Daddy.
Well, yeah, that's Jesus.
Depending on which God you believe in, right? So some people believe in different gods. So I just say Sky Dad. So that's what everybody says, but they believe in different gods. So just to cover everybody who believes that there's a God in heaven, I wish that you didn't.
There is a God.
But we support your right, James. James, we support your right to believe in God, right? And that religious freedom, the freedom to believe in, whatever religion you want and to practice and, and worship whatever God you want, that we believe in protecting.
My job as a Christian is to win your soul over.
No, James, that is a losing endeavor. We were both. No, James, I was an evangelical Christian. Like, I was the most evangelical Christian. I was born into it. I went to Christian school. I did the whole 9 yards. I've read the Bible cover to cover. You don't need to, there's nothing you can tell me about it. I've worked my way out of it now. It sounds like you're new to the game. You'll get there.
I'm not new to the game. I'm almost 50 years old. I've got a lot of time on this earth.
My experience in religion was extremely abusive.
Oh my God.
That's what happened.
And you live in Arizona?
James, real quick, to continue this, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to set your phone face down. I'm going to turn the comments back on so people can be engaged, but I need you to promise me that you are not going to read any comments.
I'm not paying them no attention because I'm trying to
thank
talk
you.
to you guys, not them.
Okay, cool. Keep going, Felice.
No, yeah. So I'm just saying my issue with religion was just that it was quite abusive. Like, James, I'm attracted to both men and women, right? And I made the mistake, but I had never kissed anyone or held hands with anyone. I said that, and then the next day at my Christian school, my mom signed a permission slip and they tried to pray the gay out of me. That was the start of many abusive things that happened to me inside religion. Like, there was a lot of hypocrisy. You know what I mean? A lot of people saying one thing and doing another, things of that nature. But I did my time. Like, trust me, this is not like a lack of knowledge about like the Christian religion. That's what I'm trying to tell you. We're both well-versed in religion.
They're not Christians. If they're judging you like that, they're not Christians.
But that's what all Christians say. But at the end of the day, it's still every time there's some sort of policy to take away the rights of people that Christians don't believe should exist, or people that Christians believe are living in sin, they will vote to take away those rights. So forgive me, I guess if that's not true Christianity, great. But until everybody in Christianity, especially the powers that be, start living true Christianity, I'd rather it not be involved in any decisions, because historically it's been shown that all it does is slow progress and make really simple decisions that should be so very simple to understand. Something as simple as equality, that all people, no matter who they want to have sex with, no matter what their gender is, no matter what the color of their skin, that they should all be equal. Just that, like, we still can't even get Christians to agree on that simple premise, that no matter who you are, no matter who you have sex with, no matter how you identify, you should have rights. And Christians are just like, nah, we're not cool with that yet.
I'm a Christian and I'm not like that.
Okay, well, then you need to spend your time talking to fellow Christians who are currently spending most of their time attacking immigrants and members of the LGBTQ community
know
and BLM. When you get all those people to be on board and start acting like the true Christians, then fine, we can have a discussion about is Christianity good, but they're not doing that.
I can't control them.
You can't. Exactly. That's why I want them to not have any voice until they can prove that they will set their beliefs, the things that they feel in their heart, aside to do what's best for everyone.
Isn't that the opposite of democracy?
No.
Taking somebody's voice from them. That's the opposite of democracy.
Yeah, but if your voice is being used to silence the voices of others, then I oppose you. Yeah, you can use democracy to do bad things. You can use democracy to not give people a voice. That doesn't mean it's right. I'm advocating that you guys do what's right, not what democracy allows you to do. You guys do a lot of things that democracy allows you to do that aren't right. You guys, for the entirety of this country, it has been largely white Christians making sure that other people don't have rights. And when they get cornered, they reluctantly give some rights to them. But it takes years, decades, for people to just get equal rights. White Christians have all the rights in this country, all of them. And they don't want other people to have rights.
That's not computing with me.
Okay, well, remember when this country started? Remember when this country started, and it was founded largely by white Christian men, and only white Christian men could own land. Only white Christian men could. I mean, it was mostly white men. We'll leave out the Christian, but most of them were Christian. They were the only ones that could own land. They were the only ones that could vote. They were the only ones that could have weapons. They were allowed to own other people as property. Women weren't allowed to vote, and slowly.
Now I understand what you're saying. You're going by old historical stuff with Christians.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it right now. Look at it goes up until this point. They've been going after marginalized groups forever, and now it's the LGBTQ community. They've never stopped trying to make sure that not everybody has rights. It's like the one thing they've ever been consistent on is that they think they should strip rights from others.
And they're not Christians. They're doing that.
Well, I'm sorry. That's who they've been in this country. So until there's something
James,
different,
it's Christian organizations that are doing conversion therapy. We didn't talk about it, but the Supreme Court, the conservative Supreme Court, thankfully was deciding yesterday whether or not to hear a case, and they didn't have 4 justices, which is unlike, because they have a conservative majority that agreed to hear it. But so conversion therapy can remain banned in the state of Washington, because do you understand that it's Christian organizations that are praying the gay out of people, that are making people so depressed they're attempting to unalive themselves because they were born a certain way, and they're told by Christians that they're an abomination? That's Christians. That's your religion. So you need to, if you don't agree with any of that, then you need to go get your people. You need to start a ministry where you go save Christians from themselves, James. I think that's your new calling.
My people do not think
you need to save the Christians from the Christians.
Brother, you live in Georgia. I've heard Marjorie Taylor Greene say this shit over and over and over again. Don't tell me she's not your people. She's Republican, she's Georgian, and she wears that big ass cross around her neck. She's Christian. Well, whether she believes like you or not, she is your people.
Look, you look on my TikTok and say that I'm a musician. You know, Black Sabbath wears crosses too, but they don't make them Christians.
Yeah, but she says she's a Christian, and she advocates for Christianity. No, you don't get to. This is the problem, James. Like and this is the problem with Christians in general. Every time there's something, a fair criticism that's levied against Christianity, you guys do that's not true Christianity as your way out of it. I don't care. I don't care who the true Christians are or not, because those same people that you're talking about, they're going to call you not a true Christian because you're not standing for the true doctrine of Christ. The true doctrine of Christ, saying that being gay is immoral, you would stand up for that, and you would advocate that not be allowed in this country. So you got a whole bunch of Christians claiming that the other people who think differently than them aren't the real Christians. So I'm going to go with the majority of Christians, and the majority of Christian Republicans specifically advocate that other people not have rights. So until they start advocating that everybody has equal rights, I'm just going to keep conflating that with Christianity because they keep telling me it's because of their Christianity. So I'm going to believe them.
Please, sir, don't put me in that box for those people to think like that.
Then get out of the box.
I'm not in the box with them.
Then great. Welcome to the Democrat Party. And by the way, when legislation comes up and it says like should a trans kid be able to use their pronouns at school, I expect you to support that. I expect you to support trans kids.
I don't know any trans.
I know, but when the legislation comes up, if there's something you get to vote on that says a trans kid can use their own pronouns, or a bill about trans kids not being allowed to play sports, I expect you to vote against a bill that would say trans kids can't play sports. And I would expect you to vote for a bill that says that trans kids can use their own pronouns in the classroom at school, and that we can teach about transgenderism in school. I will expect you to vote for all that, which basically just makes you a liberal.
I have people that's in my family that's LGBTQ, and we don't treat them any different.
Good. I love that. So then
Okay,
vote
but
for
Christian organizations, okay, are not just treating the LGBTQ different. They are trying to make it legislate against us, so we don't have the same rights as you do. Do you understand?
That's wrong.
Yes,
That's
absolutely. So why are you voting with the like you keep saying everything we tell you, you're like, that's right, that's wrong. Like, you're right. You're agreeing with everything we say, but you're still a Republican.
No, not my main thing now is the fact that y'all don't believe in God. That really worries me.
Well, that's
Yeah.
silly because
Broken
what's
my
real?
heart.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that your heart is broken, but meanwhile, the real world is happening. There's real things happening around us, and we don't have the luxury of sitting around going, well, it doesn't matter what happens in this world because there's a heaven. And since I've accepted Jesus as my savior, I don't have to do a goddamn thing here anymore. My part is done. I'll just let society... Like, the problem with Christianity is that you guys say that like, the world is going to end. There's all these prophecies about the world becoming wicked and going to war and ending. And so when the world starts getting wicked and going to war and becoming more violent, you guys are like, oh yeah, hell yeah, this is part of it. You don't stand up and fight against it. You think it's a prophecy coming true. And so we have a hard time dragging your guys' ass along saying, hey, could you help us stand up for what's right? And you're like, well, you should have accepted Jesus. Oh, okay.
Can I tell you a real quick story? And I'm going to make it real quick.
If it's related to this short... Wait, could you respond to what I said first? Did you hear what I said, Jay?
I passed
No,
away.
Hold on. Please respond to what I said first, and then I'll let you tell your miracle story.
Okay. Bro, Smith, on what you just saying.
What's that?
What part do you want me to... I mean, you
like any of it.
You're going really, really fast.
Yeah, just any of it would be fine.
You kind of blow my mind that y'all don't believe in God at all.
Brother, I don't know where you live, but in this country, almost everywhere that you go, the majority of people don't believe in God. I'm sorry that this is shocking to you, but the majority of our country does not believe in God. Do you know that?
Do you realize that might be the problem?
No, it's not the problem.
No, but James, specifically, if you want to talk about why I do not believe in God, it's because of evangelical Christians. So that's who made me stop believing in God. So you need to go round up the Christians and have a talk with them. They actually are working against their own self-interest. That's how hypocritical.
God give everybody free will. So those people right there, what?
Can you hear? Hello?
No, he's breaking up for me too. That's probably...
James, are you talking? Yeah, that was God. That was divine intervention.
All right. Well, sorry, James. That's gonna be... Oh shit! Of course. Of course. I was done with that anyways. James, you're welcome.
I can hear him. Can you hear him?
Yeah. I guarantee the people in the in the comments can't hear him though.
Can you guys
I'm
hear
guessing.
him?
I think
James,
he's
can you
gone
hear
now.
us? That was so weird.
That
No,
was weird.
that's definitely happened where people get kicked and then I can still hear him talking. That's strange. I just did he disagree with a thing we said? You know what I mean? This is the hypocrisy. Like, there's so many people in this country who, regardless of individual things, they'll be like, yeah, that's not right. Well, that's not right. Well, that shouldn't be happening. But then does that equate to like, okay, well, based on this conversation and how I agreed with your points, or how, yeah, subsidies for farms or subsidies for farmers to join together in co-op, that is a future. That's a future road that I'm going to need to go down as commercial farming starts taking over Georgia more and more. Like, all of those things are things he's like, oh yeah, about farming. Like, cool. So then is the next natural like step that you think, oh, I should probably be voting like on a progressive, like for a progressive ticket? Nope.
Yeah. No.
Absolutely not.
My main problem with any sort of religion, but specifically Christianity here, is it just breeds apathy. And that's what I was trying to get across to James, is that when you believe the end of the world is coming, and when you believe all these awful things are going to happen that signal the end of the world, and I can tell you this from like sitting through hours and hours of church in the Mormon church, where we talk about the end times, like when something bad happens across the world, like when we have what's happening in Israel and Palestine, instead of viewing it as like, oh my God, that's terrible, it's like, well, yeah, this was going to happen. So you're allowed to just be apathetic about everything. And you don't have to take a real stance on anything, because as the world turns violent, or as people stop believing in Jesus, you're just like, oh, well, that's okay. Like, God will get him back. I'm just going to sit here and keep being my little Republican self, and I'm going to make sure I vote against the rights of other people. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because the world is ending, and then I'll be there with Jesus, and he'll be so proud of me for voting against the rights of people. And that's what it breeds. Like, if you live your life and it revolves around your religion, you don't have to care about anything else. Nothing else matters. Nothing else is even real. It's just part of a plan that God has, and you're just living in it. So why should you care? And that's where I think like Republicans have learned, and that's why they're so good with messaging. They just have this huge voter block that they know they can say literally whatever they want, as long as they paint the other side as evil, and as long as they wear that cross and say like, I'm a Christian, and these are Christian values. And then after that, you can do whatever you want, because Republicans are apathetic. They don't actually care. They just want to hear the person on stage say, I love Jesus. And they're like, cool, me too. We're good. Do whatever you want then. You're muted, Felice.
For women, I just can't express it enough. Like, religion is a raw deal for us. We are literally the lesser sex. I mean, that's in general, like a general term, but in religion specifically, like in Christianity, okay, women can be preachers, but by and large, they are not. Like in the Mormon religion, women still can't hold the priesthood. There is no reason for women to be involved in religion. We do it
Sometimes
because
we
we're
let 'em say
long
the prayer, though.
suffering and because we're actually like maybe following Jesus's teachings. But the message about women in religion is it was Eve's fault, right? It's not that men made a bad choice, it's that we tempted them. We should be ashamed of our bodies. We should cover up. We're evil temptresses. Like, this narrative that we know was changed and evolved over time as the Catholic Christian Church wanted more control over women and of our reproductive abilities. Like, it's a raw deal is the answer. Religion is not a great deal for women.
We used to have a mod in here that I'm pretty sure like her username was some like variation of temptress, but it was from like, I don't remember if it was Q-Top or J-Man. It was like one of those really, really Christian people. Like, they kept in a debate, he kept saying like, you're a temptress, you're a temptress, and they do believe that. Like, it's part of the doctrine, and it is a raw deal for women. But I gotta say, as a white man, I do understand like why sometimes people feel like it's a good spot for them. As a black man,
there's upward mobility.
It's a great spot.
Sky's the limit for you guys.
Yeah. When you ultimately scam the people, if you're high enough up, you're going to get that money. It's really just, Christianity has just become like, I don't know, like crony capitalism. That's basically all it is, except for the product.
It's like a mid-level marketing scheme. You got to get people in your downline.
The product is words. Yeah. You pay them money and they tell you the words that you want to hear. That's the whole scheme. Like, oh, I need to hear more words that I already believe and need to hear again today. Here's some more money. It's a pretty good
Mormonism
deal.
really is a mid-level market. I mean, in terms of how you have to convert people, like get people in your downline, like you have to bring on like fresh converts.
The weird thing about Mormonism, and it's tricky to talk with Mormons, is like that is what you're doing. You're recruiting a downline. Then you're supposed to make sure that they know they're supposed to pay their 10%.
Get that
But at the end
money.
of the day, nobody's actually really getting that money. Like that money mostly just sits there. The people getting the most rich though off of Mormons are the people who manage the accounts, right? Anybody who's getting a commission off of any of these accounts. That's who is making money. The clergy, like they get a house and they get to travel around on private jets and do whatever, but their life is boring. The Mormon religion is like the only MLM where they like forgot that somebody was supposed to get the money, and they're very confused now because they have all this money, billions of dollars. They lied to all the Mormons saying like, we won't tell you how much, because they just stopped reporting
The
how much
Mormon
money they
church
had.
is rich, rich,
Yeah,
rich.
and then when they're caught, they're like, "Oh, we couldn't tell anybody because they'd stopped paying tithing." And they're like, "Yep, that's what we should tell the press. We should tell the press that we didn't tell anybody because then they would stop paying tithing and stop receiving the Lord's blessings." And for all of the members of the church, they're like, "Yeah, that makes sense." Everybody else on the outside's like, "What the fuck? Like, what you have to lie to people to get them to pay, and that's not a crime? We're just here in America because it's about Sky Daddy. That's not a crime. Everywhere else, that's a potential Ponzi scheme. Yeah, I guess a Ponzi scheme because they rely on that money to pay their bills. But in religion, it's like, no, that's just belief. It's crazy.
Is there any plan that, because like I know like Mormonism, one of the tenets is like saving for the rainy day or for the end times, and you have like a storehouse of food and all of that stuff, and you guys are just hoarding money and not spending it. Is there any plans to spend the money, or just there isn't? Just keep saving it.
It's tricky. So, what's the Rusty Bowers? Do you know that name, right? He's here
Rusty
in
Bowers was the Speaker of the House in Arizona.
Yes, and he was one of the few people to stand up to Trump as well.
Yeah.
And he alludes to it. If you watch his interview, he's Mormon, but he alludes to something that a lot of Mormon politicians think. He has a belief that the Constitution will be hanging by a thread and the Mormon church will step in to save our country. It's a prophecy from, I think, from Joseph
Oh, I
Smith.
didn't know that.
Yeah, and so that kind of evolved. Like for in the early days, it was more like we'll come in, we'll be so big, we'll have so many people that we'll just take over, and then we'll run the church. As by the way, under the law of consecration, which would be communism. It's weird that all these Republicans are fucking conservatives because when they take over, they're gonna do communism. But now most people in the church believe that it's not our sheer numbers, it's our money, that the country will need our money to save it. And so that's now why they lean on that number. They're like, oh, well, there's this prophecy that we have to save the country, so we need billions of dollars so we could save the country. But unfortunately, our country's debt is outpacing
Yeah, I was
what we
gonna
could do to
say.
save them. Yeah. So yeah, that's Mormonism. And most Mormons probably wouldn't tell you that that's what they believe, but it is true. It is what they believe. It's a weird thing being Mormon. You go through most of your time as a Mormon pretending that you don't believe things that you are supposed to believe. Like the doctrine is so high level in some areas that they literally teach you like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Just keep the commandments and like read your scriptures, say your prayers, believe listen to the prophet, and you'll be fine. You don't need to worry about all that other shit. It's like baked into the curriculum. When we were missionaries, they'd be like, do not talk about that other shit. Just tell them, keep the commandments, read your scriptures, say your prayers, go to church, and everything will work out. And then like looking back on that, it's like that's like no wonder people. I remember one person just telling us in the middle, they're like, this just sounds like a cult. I don't want to continue talking about this. And we're like, no, it's not a cult. Yeah, it is. It's so a cult. It's so culty.
I
Can I
concur.
interest you in being Mormon?
Yeah, no, I would probably be Mormon. I've already done the evangelical thing, so yeah, I'd probably switch to Mormonism. Like I don't know what my value to the religion is since I don't plan on procreating. Like I mean, that's pretty
That'll
much all
change.
women are supposed to do is just have the children and keep sweet and just don't complain, you know what I mean? Don't point out the fact that that's a very sexist religion going on.
There's a lady when I was just home. There's a lady that grew up in my ward. That's like our congregation, and she's from England, and she's never been
I
married.
know what
She
a ward
converted
is.
to Okay, so that's right. You lived in Idaho. But that was for everybody else. She converted to the Mormon church. Like some missionaries came over. I think maybe in like her 20s or 30s, and she came over. So at the time when she converted, virgin, she'd never been with a man. She's now probably in her 60s or 70s, still a virgin, never been married, and she is talked about in the ward as like as this remarkable being,
Mary,
right?
Mother of
That she
Jesus.
has made it through her entire life without having sex, and that she has been promised, and this is why she has never relented. She was promised that whether in this life or the next life, she would have children, and but in order for her to have children, she needed to keep the commandments. So she's going to go through this entire life doing everything they told her to do, expecting that when she dies and is reborn, she will then have an opportunity to have a family and experience sex. And my mom and her friend were talking about that when I was at Thanksgiving, and I just thought, like, this is incredibly sad. Like, this is this
Yeah.
lady's entire life. She's been trained to believe that it's okay if like the things that she wants most in this life, a kid and a family, she must do that within the Mormon religion. She can't go outside of it. She can't have sex beforehand. She's got to get either married here or in the next life, or else she can't have children. She has to keep all those rules. It's crazy. And she is like a hero there. And people they'll say it openly to her. She'll say it. She'll be like, I know that God has a plan for me, even if it's not in this life. Like, she's getting to that stage now where she's like, I still believe. And it's like, oh no, you've
I
gotten
have
to
a
the stage
question
where you realize, yeah, go ahead.
about like no, stop.
For
Is-
70, she's not bad.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
you were saying I was gonna say that. I was like, I was not gonna say that. I was gonna say like Catholic services, like I don't know if you're aware of what goes on in the Catholic Church, but there's like, like an adoption agency sort of within the Catholic Church. Like Catholics will give their babies to Catholic services who then replace them. Do the Mormons have like their own internal like adoption? Like could she have a baby placed with her?
Yeah, so it's Mormon, LDS Family Services, but they would never have placed a baby with a single mother.
Oh yeah,
There's
the
really strict
family
rules.
unit, Project 2020. That's what Project
Yeah,
2025 says too. No single mothers can adopt. It has to be a family unit, a man and a woman.
and there's strict rules. So, like, my parents adopted my sister. She's 6 months older than me, but they adopted her and my oldest brother through LDS Family Services, and I wasn't adopted through LDS Family Services because of like a law. If you adopt through LDS Family Services, you could only do it like every 2 years or 3 years or something like that. And there was another rule where if you adopt somebody through LDS Family Services, you also can't adopt somebody through a different program within 6 months. And so
Oh,
my due date was like on my sister's 6 month uh, anniversary, or yeah, the time she was going to be, or it would be 6 months. It was like in May, and I was born in November. So there was a plan in place for me to go live with, if I came early, to go live with my uncle until we hit the 6 months, and
oh.
then be transferred back to my family. Luckily, I was way late, and it worked out. But yeah, they had a plan in place that I was going to go live with somebody else just because of that rule. So the first couple days of my life would be with somebody who wasn't my parent, wasn't going to be my parent. My parents weren't going to be allowed to go over there. And then like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days later, they're just like, all right, new parents, and they just move me over. Really
Adoption is
bizarre.
trauma.
Yeah, I didn't know. I wasn't there for any of it. I was just hanging around. Old Gary wasn't around. That's my dad,
Oh, I was
Gary. If
like,
you're here.
who is scary?
Dog the bounty hunter, my biological father, who does not want to be my friend.
Wait,
Christmas is coming up though. He's got another text coming, so we'll see.
you
We'll try
really
again.
text your biological? How did you get his number? Is that a weird question?
So he and my biological mom, they went to high school together in a small. So I was born probably near where you went to school. I was conceived in a Dairy Queen parking lot
Are you joking or
in
are you being serious?
Rigby. I'm joking about the Dairy Queen parking lot, just in case my mom's
Okay,
listening. She hates
Rigby.
when I say that. But I believe I was conceived in Rigby. And
Rigby,
so
Idaho.
there's still all these friends there that my mom knows, and he still hangs around, so he never left town.
Oh yeah,
He's
that's a
just like
small place. Everyone knows everyone
yeah,
there. Yeah,
he's a
for
high
sure.
school superstar. If any of you are from Rigby, by the way, you probably know who I'm talking about. He was like a high school superstar, never
RTP's
really grew
dad.
out of it. Lives with his mom. dresses like Dog the Bounty Hunter. So I got his number, and on Father's Day, Christmas, and then usually just those two, I'll say, like, I'll write him a long message like, I miss you, Daddy. I wish we could play catch, Daddy. And I'll call him Daddy. And like, I wish we could play catch, Daddy. I'm so glad that you're my daddy. I can't wait to talk to you someday. I love you, Daddy. And then I'll just leave it. And he has an iPhone, so he reads it. So I see that he doesn't know how to turn off read receipts. I got that from him. I don't know how to do tech.
Oh my God.
So I make him uncomfortable every holiday, which is terrific.
In a way, he kind of deserves it, especially for the read receipts and for not knowing that you could tell that he's reading that and not responding. Like, absolutely not.
Daddy got it in though. Daddy, if you were a single female in Rigby during those days, there's a good if any of your parents or grandparents lived in Rigby and they're between the ages of 45 and 60, there's a good chance that my dad hooked up with them. So just check with we could be siblings. It's possible.
Was your dad Mormon, or was he just one of the rare Idahoans? He was like in that area.
No, he comes from a Mormon family, but he wasn't like I said, he was out getting it.
Yeah, I did hear that part.
He wasted very few moments with his teenage dick.
But have you ever spoken to him, or you have never?
No.
You just have his number and are just texting him.
I've never spoken to. I just have his number.
God. We should go to
actually. The last time I texted my mom was my mom and her boyfriend. I think possibly were just hanging out one night drinking, and my mom's boyfriend, who I love, convinced her to have me reach out to him and see if he voted for Trump. So the last message I sent him was, "Hey, Daddy, Mom wants to know if you voted for Trump." That's the last message I sent him. So, then here's Trump 2024. Save it. Is that? Oh, it's this guy again.
Yeah. This guy again.
Bad, man.
Welcome back.
Y'all got me
Hey, welcome back.
I thought I followed
I
you.
did.
No, y'all didn't. Somebody.
Oh, I was like, I think
talked,
I follow you.
Somebody got me because I was talking about the election.
All right, I'm gonna follow you now.
You guys doing all right?
Life's good.
Good.
How are you? Did you want to talk about something or?
Yeah. What do you? I was kind of wondering, and this was one of the things I was kind of talking about last time, but so the other day Donald Trump was on Hannity, right? And he used a word that everybody just went ballistic over. And I've talked to a couple people on a couple of different lives about this. But do y'all realize he's doing that on purpose?
Are you talking about what happened?
I did not do anything.
You can come back up. I don't know what happened.
Is he talking about the word dictator or what? Which word
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, can we not say it?
Did he? I'll invite him back. Oh, I can invite him. I don't know what happened.
Hey, let me turn my.
Hey, sorry.
Let me turn my.
Sorry about that.
Real quick.
Sure. Oh yeah, you got to turn your camera on and back off. That's what I forgot about that stupid glitchy thing.
I just did it, so hopefully it doesn't happen again. But yeah, no, what I was saying was, that they painted this picture of him. I mean,
are you saying dictator? Is that the word you're saying?
That he's a dictator or wants to be a dictator. That's the picture that's been painted, and he says things like that on purpose. And he got so much publicity over it, which is what he wants, right? And I mean, it just seems to work for him, like every single time.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, like, he's just saying it to get a reaction. Like, he's also running on being a dictator.
So what he said was and I
wait, but you've read
his. I can hear it whenever it comes out of his voice. Like,
hold on, real quick. Hold on, I wasn't done. That was the middle of my sentence. So I need you to let me finish that sentence. It keeps saying connection timed out. It's spinning on my end. So you can come back up. I don't know what's going on with that. That's weird.
Lives have been so messed up lately. So I don't know if you saw on our outline number 21. Trump came out today and said he was just kidding about saying that. Fake news writer. Listen to this. Peter Baker's a New York Times writer. So in this Truth of Trump's, he writes, fake news writer Peter Obama Baker. Like, what? of the failing New York Times, parentheses, readership and subscriptions way down from the good old Trump years, whose claim to fame is that, quote, he will never write anything good about the great job President Trump did, end quote, just
That's,
wrote in a
by the way,
major front
that's
page
his
story
claim
that
to
I want to
fame.
be a dictator, but doesn't mention it was said in a joking manner and completed with, quote, but only for a day because I'm going to close the border and drill, drill, drill. A much different attitude and meaning.
Yeah, two things that would require a dictator to do on day one. He's saying, on day one, I will do these two things that require a dictator in order to make it happen on day one. And now, like, pick a lane. You can only get that done on day one if you are being a dictator, because obviously Congress didn't vote for it, right? How did you get it done on day one if you're not being a dictator?
Yeah, I mean that's the same thing, and that's the joke that he was referring to. It's the same thing like when Biden came into office, he signed what, 17 executive orders. I mean, that is the power that the president is given when the people vote him in. And that's
Wait,
what he's
but
saying.
these
I'm not
no, wait,
moving
hold
the
on.
military to the border.
Yeah, we're not talking about executive orders. We're talking about things that are unconstitutional that would require a dictator and the backing of the legislature and the Supreme Court in when they're challenged. We're talking about things that would take an actual dictator.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
I mean, he's talking about, and that's what he's referring.
I don't know what's going on. It just says connection timed out every time it drops him. On mine, it's spinning on his face. It just keeps spinning and saying it's. I don't know if you want to get rid of, like, hop off TikTok and then back on. I would try that because it's not letting you connect. He needs to hit save.
Let me try something else.
All right.
Do you see
Look, I
the
know-
spinning now?
Yeah, I've got the spinning.
Oh, I don't. It's okay. I don't see it.
Yeah, you guys don't see what I see, but even when he turned his camera on and off, I can't see it. And there's just like that spinning red and blue ball. Got blue balls, pal. Sorry. Camera on, save, camera off. Try that. That's what they're telling you. There we go. Now you can turn it off or you can leave it on. Either way. Let's see if the spinning thing went away. You're muted though.
How
You're
did
muted,
how
dude.
did people figure that out? That's crazy.
I don't know. People are wild. There you go. That's unmuted.
That is strange. That is strange. Yeah, no.
So that's what we're talking about. So when you look at Donald Trump, if he's saying that he's not going to be a dictator. Well, Project 2025 says otherwise. His own campaign website says otherwise. He repeatedly talks about the powers of going after his political opponents once he's back in office. Like, what part of him isn't saying I'm just a fascist? Literally everything he says is I'm going to be a fascist.
Yeah, and that's what he's hoping that everybody's saying is going to be saying, is what you're saying. That's what he's trying to. That's the point I'm trying to make, because it gives him popularity. It drives the media nuts when he does that.
But if it gives him popularity, doesn't that just mean that there's a bunch of fascists who want fascists?
Well, if that's what you think he's doing, but we don't think that's fascism.
What do you think fascism is?
Fascism. Fascism is what fascism is, right? It's
what?
Discriminatory. It's making policies that direct.
No, that's not fascism.
Policies.
That's
all right. Tell me what.
No, discriminatory. Fascism is basically giving all the power to one person,
right,
and saying this one person now it's our authoritarian ultra nationalist leader, right. And we're gonna centralize the control. So it's all coming from one person. He's going to control the military. He's going to be able to forcibly suppress his opposition. He's running on being able to suppress the press, suppress social media, suppress voter turnout, and that not only can he suppress all those things, but nobody will be allowed to investigate those organizations unless they approve it. And then he's going on and saying, like, I'm also going to send the military to the border. I'm also going to drill, baby, drill. I'm going to do all these things unilaterally. And the only way, by the way, that he gets the power that you're talking about on drill, baby, drill and going down to the border is if he has a court and a legislature who will back him up.
Right.
Because what he's advocating for is entirely against the Constitution. Problem is, a lot of us have seen what's happened the last 3 years, and we believe that he has the House, and we believe that he does have the Supreme Court. They will rule, they will lie to the American people, and then rule to do what he wants.
Right. But what I'm saying is, and that was the joke that he was saying while he was on Hannity, right? So if he is elected by the people, that's not him making that decision. It's the people that want him to drill, baby, drill, and that want him to do the military thing. The people.
Yeah, you want fascism.
The people, not
are
just
voting away. Yeah,
not just one person.
Yes, the people.
That's not just one person.
Yes, the people. I agree with you.
Right.
I agree with you.
Right.
There's way too many people who don't understand the implications of bringing in a fascist.
So do you
show me a time? Fascism doesn't work,
No,
dude.
it doesn't. No, you're right.
He will never relent power. He will keep that power forever.
Right. So another thing, and this is one of the arguments that we have, that like the Hunter Biden laptop, which it is what it is. It was definitely told by our federal agencies not to put that on Twitter. Is that not
Wrong.
fascism?
That's not true. That didn't happen.
It did happen. The guy.
It didn't.
They've had people in Twitter who've come forward and said that happened.
I just.
No,
well, they
we
had Matt
listened.
Taibbi- they
I
had Matt
watched
Taibbi.
the 2 6-hour congressional hearings. That's not.
So the
what
owner
happened.
of Facebook, what's that guy's name? I can't remember. What's his name? Mark
Zuckerberg.
was on Joe
Mark
Rogan and said
Zuckerberg?
was brought to the FBI, came to him and said, "Hey, this could be Russian disinformation. Please don't put that on there." Which he decided he wasn't going to not let people on it. He was just going to shadow ban it, and it
Right.
made it hard for people to see it.
Right.
Is that not fascism?
Wait, hold on. No.
No.
You're literally explaining something
No,
that's not fascism.
absolutely it
the
is
government
not.
had no mechanism to force him to do something.
Right,
They,
right,
they came
right,
and they said
right.
this is
Okay.
disinformation, and then the entities chose what to do with it. What you're
So
describing is the government. Hold on.
Go ahead, sorry.
This is what I need you to understand. What you're describing is the government warning businesses about something that you can argue whether or not that should be allowed, and we could have a debate about that. That's fine, but that would not fall under fascism.
Okay,
You're
so
saying,
go ahead.
yes,
go ahead.
that's just
Go
them,
ahead.
that's just them being involved, and it's mutually beneficial. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, they all want this contact with the government because it protects them. It protects them against advertisers, it protects them against lawsuits, and it keeps them informed on things that could be dangerous that they don't want on their platform, because at the end of the day, they need those advertisers, they need those eyes, and if people don't trust the place that they're going, they'll stop going there. So the social media companies, they want this. It's a parasocial relationship that works. They want that.
But what
So-
you're
so
talking
you're-
about isn't
what-
fascism.
I'm sorry.
It's
So
a
what you're saying is-
corporation. It's the CEO of a corporation making a decision for his company. That was his
Right.
decision.
So
and
what
that's,
I'm
we
saying
get
is
allowed.
whenever
What
the
I'm saying is,
federal-
listen to me.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Providing a platform
Go ahead.
on the internet, that's at the behest of an American corporation. American, at any moment, just like on TikTok, if TikTok said, "Oh, I'm banning your profile," that's not having your free speech limited. That's a corporation deciding to not let you use their product, right? Like
Right.
that's just
So what I'm saying,
corporations who
though-
we've given the power to make decisions.
Right, it's their company, right? They can make that decision. It's their company. That's what you're saying. Okay, so whenever the Federal Bureau of Investigation came to them and said these things, and Twitter made the decision to not be able to place that on there, fine. That was Twitter's decision. So what is Trump doing that's causing the media not to be able to put out what they want to put out?
Okay,
So
well,
what he's advocating for taking control of the FCC, and advocating that he be allowed to sue or go after media organizations for things they say about him. Now, with the FCC, he's basically, how it works is when he becomes president, let's say he becomes president, it's a 5-member board that controls the FCC. 3 of those appointments are his, and 2 are going to come from the Democrats. And it's majority rule in all of those. So he'll always have a 3-2 vote. And he's saying that with the FCC, which is going to regulate all communications, that's what they want to use to regulate social media companies. He has specifically said that social media companies will not be allowed to take down speech that they find as misinformation. It will be illegal for them to restrict the speech on their own platforms. He is saying universally, I am telling you guys that you can't control what your private company says is true or isn't true. I'm the arbiter. And then because he's the arbiter, if we ever want to find out if he's silencing speech that was true, well, then we go to the FBI. But he wants to restructure it so that the FBI needs permission from the FCC to investigate the FCC. And if they've done something corrupt, they're going to tell the FBI no. They have taken, honest to God, like this is not a joke. They have taken the structure and organization of the Schmatzi Party on how they disseminate propaganda and silence voices, and they've just given a modern twist to it. We're going to control the media, we're going to control the people, we're going to give Donald Trump all this power, and we have to do it for the good of the country so we can be conservative again, because your ideas aren't popular enough to pass.
Okay. That's what, so a part of electing a president, right, and is exactly what you're saying. It's giving him that 3-2 power over the FCC. And if the majority of America wants him to have that,
it's not the majority. That's not how we elect presidents. Trump lost the popular vote. Don't say the majority.
No.
Right?
Well, okay,
the majority of Americans.
But if he wins the presidency, right, based on votes, and he
it's
has
still not the majority of Americans.
Yeah, but I'm trying to tell you Trump's not getting the popular vote. He's winning by the electoral college.
Under the election laws, right? Under the election laws that we have in place right now with the electoral college, if we're going to do it the way that we're doing it right now, if he were to win that presidency based on what the people choose, then that he should have the power over the FCC, just like Joe Biden does.
Yeah,
right?
Joe Biden does have that power, but what Joe Biden didn't do is go and change the rules so the FCC can't be investigated. What Donald Trump is advocating for is removing all of the checks against his power. Anybody who can check his power, he wants that removed. He wants full control. Again, I'm not even saying that we can't have this. We can. The American people can vote in Donald Trump and we can have fascism. But I need the Trump people to explain to me why they think fascism is a good idea. Why do you guys think that voting in a fascist is a good idea? Well, Trump 2024 Save America. That's your name, Trump 2024 Save America. So how's that good?
I don't put those two together. I don't put fascism and Trump 2024.
He's running. This is his agenda. He's running on this. I pulled this all from his website. This is from his website, though. This is Trump, what he's running on. How can you separate Trump from this? I can't hear you.
You're still there? I lost my connection there.
Yeah, there you go.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
Hey, let me jump off of here. I'll get back to you guys here in just a second.
All right.
Yeah, well, let me just that he wants to bring the Department of Justice into his cabinet. Do you know what I'm saying? Meaning that the head of the DOJ will answer directly to Trump. So investigations can't be brought independently of the president as they are now. And if there's one thing I admire about Joe Biden, it's the separation between him and the DOJ. Because Trump didn't even have that. Trump and Bill Barr was thick as thieves, as we heard in the Saturday night speech for Stumping for Fascism speech in New York. He went after Bill Barr again and said Bill Barr was too scared of being impeached. Donald Trump was trying to control what Bill Barr was doing, and Bill Barr was refusing to do it because he didn't want to be impeached.
Right.
And he's putting an end to that, essentially.
Yeah, this is exactly what Trump did. If you read Comey's book, Trump came into office and he demanded loyalty from Comey. He demanded loyalty from everybody. Look, he ran through directors all over the place until he found people who were willing to be loyal to him. And as soon as they said, like, I'm going to be loyal to the truth instead of you, they were run out. That's ultimately what happened to Barr. It's ultimately what happened to Comey. I'll forever be baffled by Republicans who think James Comey is a problem. James Comey is why you won the election. Like almost every indicator says if Hillary Clinton if they had not announced that investigation into her, which wound up being basically nothing, a week before the election, and also announcing that there was no interference with Russia. This is what James Comey did. He said, we don't have any evidence Russia interfered, and we're going to investigate Hillary in the last week leading up to the election, and then Trump wins. Turns out there was interference from Russia, and the charges brought against Hillary went nowhere. It was a nothing burger, and that's how you guys won. So you can hate Comey, but the reason you hate Comey, just so that we're clear, is because Donald Trump demanded loyalty to him, and he said, I will be loyal to the Constitution and the truth. And Trump fired him. He gave the guy the presidency, but as soon as he said, like, I'm just going to tell the truth, he was of no use to Donald Trump any longer. No use. And that's Bill Barr, that's Rudy Giuliani, that'll be Jenna Ellis, that'll be the Kraken, that'll be literally everybody who eventually decides to save their own ass, Michael Cohen, and tell the truth, and then they will be of no use to Donald Trump, and you guys will all call them traitors. Like, you're all fascists. Every one of you. You're just fascists. And you're cool with it. It's so weird. You come on here to pretend like, oh, everybody's calling it fascism, and then you're like, here's why it's fascism. They're like, oh, well, I kind of like that. It's like, yeah, this is what we're saying. You guys are just all fascists. Muted, Felice.
Sorry. One tenet of fascism, like populism, and I hear more and more Trump supporters being like, I'm a populist. Well, I just want to talk about like what populism is. So the people like are conceived as a monolith, right? So they have a common will. That's the idea of populism, is the people have a common will. It's distinct from and superior to the viewpoint of any one individual, right? So it's the idea of all of us together have a common will. But here's how it gets weird. As fascists use this concept, it's to delegitimize democratic institutions. Yes. They accuse of no longer representing, quote unquote, the voice of the people. When you're yelling, I'm a populist, what you're saying is we're all essentially one person who have a common will, and whoever is in charge, the fascist in charge, is able to determine what that will, quote unquote, is. And so when democratic institutions try to do things like bring lawsuits or fight for voting rights, that's going against the populist will of the people, which is determined by the authoritarian fascist in charge.
And remarkably, by the minority party, and the candidate who's going to get the minority of the votes is up there preaching this message of, this is what Americans want. This is the populist message. This is what we need. Like, he said that. At least 150 million Trump supporters. At least. There's just at least 150 million. They just keep lying to you. The proof is in the pudding. Anytime anybody comes up and tries to defend Donald Trump's like move towards fascism, Project 2025, Agenda 47, every time they wind up agreeing with us that is wrong. And then they also leave, still not thinking he's a fascist, and still thinking like, oh, that just won't happen. That, like, history is riddled with fascist takeovers where people didn't believe that the worst would happen. And the worst always happens. And the reason the worst always happens is because eventually the leader doesn't want to give back power, and the leader stops reflecting the people will recognize at some point something will go wrong in this country, whether it's economic, whether we're at war, and the people eventually turn on the leader. And that's when you find out that you can't turn on the leader. The leader already took all the power. Donald Trump has a few years left in his life, not many. And if we have a fascist takeover, then depending on who his running mate is, that could be somebody who is... Imagine if Vivek was the vice president. He's in his 30s. And he's advocating for fascism. Imagine Donald Trump and Vivek, and Donald Trump passes away, and now Vivek is our fascist leader for 30 years. I wonder if we could see an example of any time... Oh, fucking Russia! I remember now. I remember that's what Putin did. Putin, when he took over, these were democratic elections, and slowly but surely, he stripped away the will of the people, the ability of the people to vote him out, the ability of the people to take power from him. He consolidated the power with a few different oligarchs, and now he has total authority in a state that we're supposed to believe is democratic. We just fucking watched this happen. We just saw it. it's interesting to me that the people who were so opposed to communism and socialism just not that long ago are now like, oh, we got to go fascist. We have to be fascist now. Shocker, shocker. Muted, police.
Sorry, I go through it again, like the rampant sexism in fascism. This is why I don't understand women that are gonna vote for Donald Trump. The government of fascist nations tend to be almost exclusively male dominated. Look at Hungary. Like women basically don't hold positions. Under fascist regimes, traditional gender roles are made more rigid. Here we come, Gilead. Opposition to abortion is high, and as is homophobia and anti-gay legislation and national policy. Like, who does that seem familiar?
No, that's nothing I've never heard
Yeah,
anything
that's
like
not
that
what's been
before.
going on.
Yeah, I like you said, it's easy to understand like why a white Christian man's like, yeah, let's do this. Let's go down this MAGA road. This is a great deal for
Exactly.
me. But for any of the other voters, it makes no sense. If you're a young voter, if you're a female voter, certainly if you're a member of the LGBTQ community, if you're by the way, if you're a minority, do you really think that that fascism stops? You think that's what happens? You really think that fascism takes over, Donald Trump has control of the country? When things start going bad, when the economic problems start going south, like we have economic problems, the economy's in
Scarcity,
trouble
yeah, late stage
because
capitalism.
we're going to have recessions. Who do you think he's going to blame then? He has total power. He's not going to blame him. Who's going to get that blame? Immigrants, minorities, LGBTQ, women. He's certainly. You think that this guy ever would take the blame for something? Never. Guys, I know about my mic. I apologize. I got to get a new cord. I apologize for my mic popping. It seems to not do it for everybody, but I apologize. But yeah, like this is how this is going to go. We've all seen this, and there's no question if we had social media back in the 30s, we would see these same types of arguments being had by the schmaltzy party who were like, "Hey, no, we're not fascists. We're just conservatives. We just need to do what's best for the country." They would be having these exact conversations, and then a few years later, they're just along for the ride for a genocide. They're like, I guess, like I'd rather be on this side than that side, so we're going along with it.
Chris Laughlin, are you opposition? Just say in the comments if you are. What does that mean?
I don't know, but I have to pee, so you're
I
alone.
was gonna say I have to pee. You could go. I'll talk,
All
but
right,
then I get to pee.
fair enough.
Yeah, hydration in the morning is a bad idea. Oh, I wanted to know. I want to talk about a couple things that we didn't get to go over in our. Let me read a couple of quotes from. So, truth of the day. So, you know how Trump didn't test. Oh, Chris, hey, what's going on? Didn't see you there.
Hey, how are you?
Never better.
Why are you guys so destined on that Trump's going to be some next Hitler? I don't understand. I mean, you've
Don't
foreseen.
say that word. Just say mustache man or something. Like we're not,
Okay,
don't
sorry,
use it. Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm
No,
not
no
I'm not
problem.
TikTok savvy, so just yell at me whenever I'm doing something wrong. But
Yeah,
I don't see where you can't understand the first small, the first year and a half of Donald Trump's presidency. He took.
I did not do that. For the record.
No, it's that
Thanks,
again.
facts.
Come back up. You have to. Oh, I did have a
Yeah,
Vivek.
so say it once what you have to do so everyone knows or whatever.
Yeah,
What
so when you come on, you have to turn on your camera, hit save, and then you can turn it off after that. But you got to do camera on, save, then you can do camera off. I understand if you don't want to be on camera for whatever reason TikTok is doing this. So to that guest, we didn't boot you. It's been doing it all day. I didn't see who it was, but hop back in the box. I'll bring you right back up. Sorry about that. It seems to be an issue. It's been I've had a weird my mic is on. Wait, my mic wasn't on. There's no way you guys heard me going to the bathroom. That's weird. Was my mic making a noise? My mic is like right here. The bathroom, the door was. Oh, maybe you guys heard the toilet flush. I guess that could have happened. Did you guys hear the toilet flush? That's pretty good. All right. Well, sorry about that. I'm Vivek. Mike. That's weird. Weird. All right. There's that guest coming back up. Oh, that's not. Fax, I see you. We're trying to bring this strong stream. Thank you. I did what? There's no way you guys heard it. I promise there's no way you heard it. There's like a big door. You might have heard me wash my hands. Oh, they're messing with me? That's a good one. I thank you for asking. I'm doing very well. For any of you, and I'll say it, for any of you who are asking how I'm doing after yesterday, I appreciate it. I've made the decision just not to talk about it anymore. Um, so I'm good. I was good yesterday. It's a weird fucking thing to deal with. I can just say that. It's been a very strange thing to deal with. A shocking thing to deal with. It's my first foray into weird people on the internet. It's the first time that's ever happened. But ultimately, like, I have good friends. I have a good support system. The Discord was there for me all day yesterday. The mods, Felice and I had a long conversation last night. Like, I agree. Take care of yourselves, but also understand that on the left we do have and I'll be honest about this. Not only just on the left, like the amount of people that reached out to me privately yesterday, it was a lot of people just to check if I was okay. But I also want to say that some of the content creators who I've argued with the most, whose views on certain things I hate a lot, and people that you guys hate, they also reached out. And they also wanted to just check in and say, like, hey, this shit happens. Sometimes people are vicious. Keep your head up. We know what you're going through. If there's something you need, call. So I promise you guys I'm good. I promise. I appreciate you bringing it up. I promise I'm good, though. It was just a fucking weird situation, and I hope it's behind us. Felice wants it to keep going, though.
I'm loving it. I actually hate it probably more than he does. I certainly complain more, but no, he is okay. He's just sad. He had his heart broken. That's all.
All right. I don't know why. You could have just been like, he's okay. Chris, welcome back.
Oh, sorry.
Turn your camera on. Chris, turn your camera on, push save, and then you can turn it back off.
I don't know how to do any of this, so hold on a second.
You just click like in your box. If you click on yourself, there'll be an option to like turn on the camera.
Okay, here it is.
And then you gotta
save.
Push save, and then you're gonna appear on camera. And then when you're done, you can disconnect. Still don't see you. It was his water that was running, by the way. All you guys thought it was my water was running.
I thought that was you peeing, and I was like,
now we know. Yeah, I was confused because my mic was off. I'm like, there's no way. Yeah, I can send him a camera invite. Let's see. Oh, it says he doesn't have access to join. He can't do it. I'll invite you to unmute. Hopefully you don't get bumped. It says you don't have the ability to go live with your camera. That's weird. So we can just talk and hope it works.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, Chris.
Is it working?
Yes, and everybody accused me of peeing because of some water that's running behind you. So
what happened to you? What was going on?
I went to the bathroom and everybody thought I was peeing.
No. There was some epidemic prior. Would you?
Yeah, it was an epidemic. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
No big deal. No big deal.
It was an epidemic.
Thank you very much. Okay, so basically, I'm having a problem understanding why everybody is so hateful of Donald Trump, even though you watched a short amount of time of him being in office, and you've seen the amount of things that he deregulated and how what his main goal was is to slow the government down and all the things that they tax us for. And moments later, after Biden got back into office, I mean, the first like 15 days, they took all that stuff away that he did, and it's just, and now he's he's been boasting and screaming about how they've been doing things unethically for 4 years, and you've watched the economy fall apart, the housing market. I mean, everything across the board is doing a lot less than what it was prior. And it's just, with all this proof and all these allegations for this last 4 years and all this like hate on him, and then you've seen what he's capable of, and then you've seen what was capable without him and what they've done to go back to what they really are looking for, what they really want. It's hard for anybody to, I would think, to hate him. I mean, you've seen the proof is in the pudding.
I think the problem is a fundamental misunderstanding of what the president does, what the president did, and what the outcomes of what Trump did are. Like, you're saying things like the economy was great under Trump. That's fine. I agree. The indicators were good, but like, by what measure? How are you measuring that? Are you measuring that by unemployment because it's lower now? Are you measuring that by record stock prices because it's higher now? You're looking at indicators that are written by the liars that are creating the story that you're reading. Yeah, but those were the same indicators that Donald Trump was bragging about, and it was the same system that gave us his numbers. So why? You have to discount all numbers.
But all the people, the workers across the country weren't looking for workers because there was nobody to come to work. I mean, it was at all.
What?
Wait, what?
There's people all over the internet right now. I know 50 business owners that can't get enough people to come to work. Nobody will go to work.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I say that all the time.
Well, it's supposed to be at the lowest ever. What are you talking about? It's contradiction in itself.
Wait, hold on, Chris. I need you to understand that.
Wow.
Open jobs is an indicator of very low unemployment. That's why we have open jobs, because unemployment is super low. We don't have enough people to fill the jobs.
That's all well and good. You can create whatever nonsense that you want, but
that's not nonsense, dude.
No, that's how unemployment works.
There's people graduating every day that are supposed to be employed, and they're supposed to be helping the economy with growing jobs.
Chris, the problem.
And we have less jobs now than we did last.
Chris, hold on, brother. The problem with all of your arguments is they're semantic, and every time we bring I wasn't done. That was the middle of my sentence. When we point out that if you have a bunch of jobs sitting open and you have unemployment at 3%, that means we need more people to fill those jobs. And so then if your next part is going to say, well, there are people to fill those jobs, but they're not working, then how are you going to link that to Joe Biden? How is it Joe Biden's fault that there's people...
How are you believing this is...
Hold on. Because we didn't change how we report
Who wrote
numbers.
this lie for you?
Chris, stop.
Up for a
Chris,
second,
let me show you where your line of logic is collapsing on itself. It's the same problem all MAGA Republicans have, because you never follow a line of logic through. If you come up here and you say, the economy was great under Trump, unemployment was low, and then we told you it's lower now.
But
then your story becomes your numbers. Stop. Let me finish, Chris. You never let anyone finish speaking. Then your story became, because the numbers are made up. But so are the same numbers then the unemployment numbers for Trump, which were pretty low. You know what I mean? Like we're saying, maybe the economy was reasonably good under Trump. We can talk about why that is. But then the same system that found the reasonably good unemployment numbers for Trump is the same system calculating the numbers for Biden. It's the same system. You can't use the system for Trump to say, a Trump economy good, and discount it for Biden. You have to follow the line of logic through.
Well, I can tell you this from personal experience, because I've been in business for 22 years.
So have I. Personal experience doesn't mean a goddamn thing about when you're talking
you don't
about
understand how
reporting
unemployment
economic
numbers.
It means everything, because I've watched
Chris, it means nothing. Your experience owning a business for 20 years means zero when
So
you're
what about
talking
the
about the when not the end when you're talking about the accuracy of how numbers are being presented. Your personal experience running a business doesn't mean anything. If you would like to argue this point, we're gonna need some sort of data. We're gonna need to see some sort of policy change,
data? I
or
would
some,
love you
or
to be a
some. I'm
business
not
owner.
done. I'm
I'm
not
never
done.
going to be done.
Or Chris, or some policy change that the Biden administration made that changed how they reported the numbers. Do you have either of those two things?
I'm not going to report any Biden bullshit. I'm telling you, I have 50 business owners. I can inform you today.
Irrelevant.
I can inform you today of actual logic that
not
happened
relevant.
today.
Chris,
Oh, yeah,
Anecdotal
$100 million.
data. Chris
Your
wants to tell us
anecdotal
about his
evidence.
business.
Chris,
You're a
Chris,
business owner and
Chris,
money means nothing.
Chris,
I'm sure of it.
Chris, I'm not going to let you ramble. Listen to what I'm saying.
It means nothing.
If
you're telling me to reiterate,
listen with
you're telling
Chris,
me to
Chris,
reiterate
Chris,
bullshit from a liar.
Chris. What I'm asking you to do is explain how the reporting is different by showing us a policy change or some change in the data. And what you're saying is that you've owned a business for 20 years, so you know. And I'm saying I don't care how long you've owned a business. I've also owned businesses, multiple, for 20 years. And the people that I went into business with, they were too busy running their business to understand how like this type of reporting is figured out. Most business owners could not tell you how they figure out the unemployment numbers in this country, and I'll prove it. Chris, how do they determine what the unemployment numbers are in this country?
I don't know.
Your experience running a business does not give you experience understanding how these numbers are made. And what you're doing instead is you've started with the point that like, I'm going to come in here and defend Trump no matter what. You're not in here to have a good faith discussion. Otherwise, when we gave you those numbers, you might have said, that's interesting. I didn't know that. How were those numbers found? Instead, you immediately went to a conspiracy theory that the only way that those numbers could be the same is if the Biden administration was cheating, faking the numbers, lying. But you have no evidence of that. You just want that to be true.
No, it's all becoming true.
Well, then what's your evidence?
Just like the logical stuff, like
what's the evidence?
Just like Miss Hobbs, Carol Hobbs.
What's the evidence?
Look at the Mojave County.
Katie Hobbs. What? No.
Look at the Mojave County
we're not going
voting
into,
process.
We're not going into voting. Chris,
the governor of Arizona, his name is Katie Hobbs, not Carol.
I'm sorry,
and we're
Katie
in
Hobbs.
Arizona, so you don't need to tell us about Mojave County. We're
and
here.
you so you're so all this is
hold
logical.
Hold on, Chris.
Fucking logical.
You're getting. Here's why I'm muting you. You don't get to move on now. You don't get to move to your next thing. We're talking about unemployment, and we're talking about how we generate unemployment numbers. You're not gonna now switch to the election and miss the point here. I need you to tell me how you know that the unemployment numbers now are fake.
Because I have 50 business owners that can't find people to work for them like they could 3 years ago. And
that
it's,
means that
it's all over the country. I hear it all over the place.
Doesn't mean what you think it means. Listen to the words you're saying.
This is the problem. Chris, if there are jobs that are vacant that nobody can fill, it's because there's nobody to work in those jobs. That means the unemployment rate would be very low.
Yes, I understand,
when
sir.
we're looking at an economy where people can't fill jobs, it's because the unemployment rate is very, very low.
I understand what you're saying.
So you can't use that so then don't use that as an argument.
Because you're proving our
lying
point.
about the unemployment. Yeah, you're arguing our side. I agree with you. I agree something needs to change. I agree. The problem with our unemployment number is it's that low and people still can't afford to pay for the things that they need. That's where you should have gone. Like, that's the real point, is that really most people can find jobs. Can they find the job they want? Not necessarily, but most people can find jobs and they still can't afford what they need to afford. So we need to figure out why they can't afford things. And instead of jumping to Trump versus Biden and saying, well, they could afford it under Trump, they can't under Biden, so it must be Trump versus Biden. Why don't you instead figure out what caused the housing prices, the food prices, and all of these things to go up? Start there, and don't start with which politician did it happen under. If you want to figure out what's actually happening, you have to look at the problem, and then you have to find the indicators that drove us to that problem. And eventually, when you have enough knowledge, you can compare the knowledge that you have against what the candidates are running on and say, which one fits the actual solution better? But we don't do that. We're just like, it was good under Trump, it's bad under Biden, so Trump 20, I can't believe you guys can't figure this out. Well, the reason I won't vote for Trump is because I went through these economic indicators. I know why house prices went up. I know why inflation went up. I know why people can't afford a regular emergency. I know why healthcare went up. I know all of these answers. Because I researched them to figure out how I should vote. And I'm telling you that none of those things will be fixed by Donald Trump. And if they are going to be fixed, I would love for you to show me a policy that he has advocated for that will fix rising inflation, or that will fix the fact that people can't afford a medical bill, or that they can't afford a $500 emergency. What are the solutions that he's presenting that would actually fix these problems?
Let me ask you, because I don't have any solutions for those problems. I know what I would do if I was president, but I'm just asking, and I'm switching a little bit, because in the original Trump term, he had a lot of very good things in policy and a lot of very strong jobs in work. And hundreds of thousands of them that were immediately written off day 1 to day 15.
Which jobs are you talking about?
The Keystone Pipeline, like
when Joe Biden, hold on, we'll go one by one.
Okay.
Joe Biden got rid of the Keystone Pipeline, that's true, and that killed jobs. And then what he replaced it with was other pipeline projects that created even more jobs. So by him canceling the Keystone and changing into different projects, not only did we get more jobs, but it was actually jobs that would affect the prices of American oil. It's long-term, not necessarily just construction jobs that would benefit the United States economy for the long term. The Keystone Pipeline was basically just an expressway for Canada to send their shitty oil that we're not going to use down to the Gulf of Mexico so they can send it down to South America. It was never oil for us. So Joe Biden did a smart thing, created new projects that created more jobs, and those jobs they helped lower the cost of oil in our country.
So that Keystone Pipeline that was supposed to be completed in the middle of Biden's term, that he could have reopened as he's doing now, he's pumping more oil than ever, he states. Is this something that would have created more wealth for it was already jobs we needed, and why?
No, so all it was is construction jobs.
So hold on, you're contradicting yourself. You're telling me that
no, they're temporary construction jobs.
Hold on, I'm not done yet. You said that you said that he just went from one job to the other job, and he got rid of the Keystone Pipeline.
I explained this. I'll explain it again. He set up. There's other pipeline projects, and these are pipelines from American companies, and they will require constant American maintenance. They will require both temporary construction jobs, like projects as they build this. These will be private construction companies that build the pipeline. They'll get the contract just like they would have on the Keystone Pipeline. But we're talking about American oil. We're talking about long-term American jobs, and the Keystone Pipeline. Oh, and by the way, and because it's oil that we'll use in this country, it brings down the price of oil. The Keystone Pipeline would have only given us those temporary construction jobs, and because the oil that's going to come through there is tar sands oil, which we don't use in this country, it would not have done a single thing to drop our gas prices. The company that was sending it was in Canada, so we're not collecting tax revenue. Americans aren't making money on that oil. It's literally Canadian money, and the only thing we were getting is money to rent the land and then the construction jobs to build the pipeline. That's it. These other projects are going to generate income and jobs long term, and they're benefiting the American people. It was a better deal for Americans.
And Chris, the conservative Supreme Court is essentially why the construction of Keystone XL was shut down, because they were trying to eminent domain indigenous tribes land, and they can't.
They're always in indigenous land one way or
Do you
another. There's
understand?
always some kind of activist
Chris,
trying
you
to post
cannot.
against this.
Chris, we stole this country from Native Americans, genocided them, then gave them specific areas of land to live on, and the conservative Supreme Court said that they could not build on that land, right? That's what happened.
150 years prior to that, they stole it from somebody else. I mean, this whole
What
world
are
has
you
been
talking
continuing
about?
to be genocide
A hundred and,
stolen.
wait,
No,
wait, hold
that's
on.
absolutely not
150
what happened,
Hold on.
Chris. Chris,
So
you're just saying things.
16, so in the 1620s, the people who were here stole the land from who?
It's all hypothetical. It was
Yeah, it's not real.
It is hypothetical. You're right about that. Some would call it a lie, but hypothetical is kind of a fun way to say it,
you
too.
know as well as I do that the United States has been ongoing stolen from cultures and people for thousands of years, and we're now
Right.
the most competent living civilization as
Yeah, I mean,
as
you
a
sound like
Most competent? No.
This is a Matt Walsh talking point. I'd be careful. But Chris, you have to recognize on your end that what you've done since getting up here is make a bunch of non-arguments.
No, you're just insulting everything.
Hold on. Hold on. When I brought up that the pipelines that the pipeline projects we went into instead were more beneficial to the American people.
You're full of it.
No, I'm not. I mean,
You just kept talking. You never let me answer.
Well, you don't know. You didn't know any of this.
You went with like 17 different talking facts.
What kind of oil?
And then I
What
say
kind of
one
oil?
thing.
Okay, then let me
You're
ask,
very
Chris. Let me
intelligent.
ask,
Hey,
Chris,
you can scream
let
at me all
ask,
you
Chris.
want, child.
I'm going to ask you
It's
a question.
fine.
Chris, I'm going to ask you a question.
You're very
What kind of
intelligent.
what? Chris, wait for the question. What kind of oil was going to be delivered using the Keystone Pipeline?
Oh, French bulldog style. I don't freaking know. I'm not that smart.
Well,
I don't
know.
sit there and read it all day. I'm just
Well, I
saying
know.
here in reality.
Our chat. A lot of people in the chat know. Why don't you know, Chris?
Because they don't listen. I'm not. I'm sorry.
Because Chris, you
I'm
get
sorry.
lied to, and
Oh yes.
you just want to
That's-
vote for Trump.
Oh, that's it. Okay. I'm not in
Yes,
reality.
it is, Chris. That's why, like everything you've gotten everything
Everything
wrong
that
so
I'm
far. And now
everything.
you're-
Oh yeah.
and
It's
now
all,
you're being
it's
childish.
All. It's all on the computer, and everything else here in reality is minuscule and
Yeah,
completely
dude, the
wrong.
information is on the internet. Unless you have unless your house is like a 50-acre fucking library with quick access to all information, then yeah, the internet's a better source than just going outside. Way better. What are you talking about, dude?
Yeah.
There's no information outside. Go outside right now and come back with some information. Go out there. I'll wait. Tell me what information you got when you went out
in
there. I'll
20
wait.
years, you and all the children that don't know how to change
Go
a
outside
spare
real
tire.
quick, Chris. I can change a spare tire. And congratulations, 20 years from now, you'll be the only one that can work at Jiffy Lube. You fucking made it, Chris. Congratulations.
Did I hurt your
I'm
feelings or
managing
what?
this bitch.
Did I hurt
I'm
your
managing
feelings?
this
What are
Jiffy
you
Lube.
upset about?
I'm not upset.
Chris,
I'm saying
you're
your
upset.
thing is so
You're
dumb.
screaming like a child.
Oh, this is what I do when I get excited. I really
get
like
excited. I wish I'd seen people like you in public. Fuck, I'm glad you don't come out.
Chris,
Are
what
you
is the
threatening to
point,
fight
Chris?
me now?
You
Chris,
you
you're so
had no
angry and
facts.
mad for no reason. No, I can't talk to a person that's screaming like a child. Every other word is no. I'm wrong. You interrupt me. You scream at me for
I haven't said
interrupting
any of
you,
those
and then you
words.
start screaming like a child. You're lucky.
Where
You're
is
very
the
lucky.
moment when you had it for what, Chris?
'Cause
For
Mom's
what? That I
basement-
don't meet you in public?
'Cause
That
Mom's
I don't meet you in
basement's
public and you get
strong.
mad and try and fight me?
No.
That's what I'm lucky for?
No, I didn't say
What am I
anything
lucky
about that.
for, Chris?
Because Mom's
Well, what am I lucky
basement's
for,
problem.
then?
Shut the fuck up and you'll listen and hear it.
Okay.
Or you can just
go
continue
ahead.
like a
Now who's
3-year-old.
angry?
I'm not angry at all.
Oh, you're not angry.
Chris-
I'm
Just
not
me.
angry at
Got it.
all. I'm not angry.
Gotcha.
I'm not
Tell
angry.
me more about
Can I
why
talk to
I'm
her?
lucky I'm inside.
Can I talk to her? She seems
No,
better
Chris.
of a-
Chris,
She seems
Chris,
more lost.
you've come up
Are you
here and you've
both?
presented no facts. Those
No,
are the facts. You don't know
I've
how
gotten yelled at
unemployment
for
rates are
5
calculated,
minutes.
but you want unemployment numbers to be relevant for Trump. But the same system that calculates them the same way for Joe Biden, you said are a lie, is reported by a liar.
So
Like
all
that
so
right
all
there
these
makes
so
no
all
sense.
these so all these things with everybody,
Then you started
certifying their
yelling
own
about the Keystone
elections.
XL. You don't know what the
Certifying your
Keystone
own
XL was carrying.
so certifying your own elections. Those are the same people that you're boasting about their votes. I mean, you're telling me that this is all.
I'm going to go back to stolen election stuff because I do think I
It's
have some
all
facts about
it's
that.
all bullshit.
You are, dude.
No,
here's
what
the
it
thing.
is setting a precedent, Chris, that if
Don't be
you
mad.
you
I'm just
can't
talking.
refuse to certify an election. That's not an option.
So you're gonna
That's a crime.
So no, it's not.
They should have committed a crime, Felice. They should have committed a crime for Donald Trump because that's what patriots do. When Donald
Chris, are
Trump
you
says the
changing a
election
tire
is
right
stolen,
now?
No. What are you talking about?
when Donald Trump says the election is stolen, you defend it
Well, we have to.
blindly.
I am
You don't
working,
need any
if that's
facts.
what you mean.
You
We
show
do
up
have to
and
work.
you do what Donald Trump says, and that's patriotism and that's free thinking. If Donald Trump says it, you do exactly what he says, and you are a free thinking American.
He is 13, huh? 12?
Dude, your
11
insults are worse
11 and a
than your
half.
arguments. You're not even. I'm better
You
at
sound
insulting
like
too.
you sound like an idiot.
You sound like your insults are killing it, dude.
Dude, I'm just
Remember
trying to
earlier
talk.
when
Can I talk
said
to
it-
her again? It's like interrupting.
No, no,
it's
you're
like a
talking
little
to me now.
child. It's like a little child
I
answering
know,
the phone
I
from
know.
upstairs. Like,
I know. What do you want to
fucking
talk
go
about,
away,
Chris?
child.
What do you want to talk about, Chris? You're on my platform.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
going away.
All right.
What do you want to talk about, sweetheart?
How about the reason why he closed down and let me re-say this. How he got rid of all the jobs for the border. I mean, he could have just let the border continue to be built.
Wait, who?
Oh, here we
Who
go.
got rid of all the jobs at the border?
Here we go.
Who? You just said he. I don't know who you're talking about. Who are you talking
your
about?
best friend's administration.
Joe Biden?
Yeah.
What jobs did he get rid of at the border?
Well, we were creating the paid-for material on the side of the border there. He could have been just leave the people alone, and
what
then
jobs did he get rid of?
well, it was in the middle of being built, and then
I just need to know what jobs, not when it was. Just what jobs did he get rid of?
well, I don't know what kind of job would you need to do.
No, certainly you wouldn't know which jobs. Certainly you wouldn't claim that jobs were lost, and then when asked what jobs, you would say, "I don't know."
Well,
certainly you wouldn't do that.
I don't know. It's probably all the welders and fabricators and engineers and all the. I don't know, just the people.
We had a
that,
bunch of welders down at the border, and
How many
Joe Biden's
how many
election was
miles
like,
of
"Come on
wall?
back."
How many miles of wall did Trump build, Chris?
900.
That's right, miles of wall. The answer's 14, you potato. 14 miles. Bro, you literally don't know anything. This is wild. You have total control over where we've gone in this conversation, and at every step when we ask you what you mean, you're like, I don't know. But in 20 years, I'll be able to change a tire. Okay.
Dude, you're just
Cool, dude.
you're just an asshole, and I was just trying to have a conversation with you,
Listen,
but you're
no
just so
argument
just.
there. I am an asshole.
And then-
No argument there.
Well, I thought that we were having.
Everybody here agrees with you. I'm an asshole. But everybody else would agree that you literally didn't know a single solitary fact of the stuff you brought up. Like you came into this conversation, you're like, let's talk about the pipeline. Knew nothing about it. Let's talk about unemployment. Knew nothing about it. Let's talk about the jobs lost at the border. Knew nothing about it. You're 0 for a lifetime here, dude.
So, can you read me off the first 10 things that your best friend he signed off on to get rid of Donald Trump's his what do you call it
yeah, these are called executive orders.
Exactly,
Is that what you're
the
asking
executive
for?
orders. Yeah,
You
the
want
first
me to
15
read
days. Yeah, what were
Yeah.
those? How
What
were these?
were they?
How were these all job creating activities? Explain these to me.
I didn't say I've never made a claim that they were all job.
Guys,
creating
tap the
activities.
screen. Let's get to 200K.
Do you know a single one that he signed on day one outside of the Keystone Pipeline?
Border, Keystone Pipeline, canceling all
No,
federal.
what did he say?
Canceling all federal oil drilling.
That didn't happen. That didn't happen.
Just read them off. Let's talk about them.
Okay, let's do it. I have very little time left. Requiring masks on federal property, rejoining the World Health Organization, which was a reversal of Trump's. Setting up a COVID office that reports directly to Biden, that's a reversal of Trump's. Extend foreclosure and eviction moratoriums that allowed people to stay in their homes when they couldn't work. Freeze student debt collection. Rejoin the Paris Climate Accords. Revoke the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline and cancel other Trump administration energy rules. Nix the 1776 Commission. Unwind Trump's changes to the census. Strengthen legal protections for dreamers. Abolish the Muslim ban. Cancel the Trump administration's interior enforcement rule. Halt construction of the U.S.-Mexico border wall. And extend deportation protections for Liberians. Which one of those were you most upset about?
The border.
Oh, and banning workplace discrimination against LGBT employees. I missed one. Sorry.
It's just.
So which one was the one you're upset about?
So from that moment of him doing that, you can't see the divide till today.
Which one are you talking about? I named 15. Which one are you?
All of them. 100%.
I would have a different answer for every different one of them.
Yeah,
specifically,
you would.
which one bothered you? Yeah, because I'm nuanced.
So you thought
which
it was
one
cool?
bothers you?
So it was cool. Just
Which one bothers you? Which one bothers you?
Shut the fuck up, child.
No, I'm asking a question. No, thanks.
I'm trying
which
to
one bothers
explain you, child.
No, I don't need an explanation. I need to know which one bothers you.
The first one.
What was the first one?
Where he made people wear masks.
Okay, on federal property.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Why does that bother you?
Because it was unnecessary.
Okay, cool.
We know that now, and all of us said it.
What do you mean we know that now? We who acknowledge evidence-based science,
have you
Chris,
ever
know
wore
nothing
a mask?
of the sort.
Have you ever wore one?
Yeah, all the time.
Can you keep out a fart?
No, but I wasn't worried about
that.
farts.
Is the most
Well, how's it-
unintelligent statement, Chris. Don't go there.
He doesn't
That's
even
so.
keep
That's
out-
just
doesn't-
sad and depressing
Oh,
for
I know,
you.
I'm
I'm worried about
sorry.
what you look like on here. That's your
I'm just
answer
trying
to
to-
us talking about evidence-based science. Is can a mask block the smell of a fart?
Well,
and
I'm
you're
trying to
saying
trying
that
to bring a
he's
joke
immature.
because he's getting nicer. That's all. Seems like he's getting a little.
Well, yeah, because you're answering questions now.
Well, I was.
But you don't. But you have to recognize, Chris. Like, if on some
Egotistical
level,
fuck.
you. Okay, that was just the middle. Now who's being a bully? You have
I'm
to
not,
recognize.
I'm just
Chris,
explaining.
Okay. On some, I know I'm egotistical. That's true. I have a big ego. On some level, Chris, you have to understand that you have brought no data.
Dude, I just
no
told
stats.
you. What are the
No,
15 different
once
problems
again-
that you won't answer?
No, I
15
did.
of them.
I read those. I gave you
Answer
those
the
facts.
first
You
fucking
didn't.
one.
No, but
Yeah,
Chris,
I
you
think that it's
didn't
okay
know.
to
You
require
didn't
masks
read
on
them
federal
off. You
property.
didn't bring
But
this
you didn't-
list
but
to
you
the
didn't want to.
conversation. We looked
But
it up
I have
for
to
you.
work right now. I have to work right now. I'm not in front of the computer like you are. I'm sorry.
Well, you could. So you just don't know anything. Well, hold on. Why are you
I've
going to
read
the
all these
computer on
things,
the
but-
internet? Shouldn't you be going outside for your information,
go
Chris?
outside.
We
Oh,
don't like. We
Jesus
don't like
Christ.
the internet.
We're not
We
getting
must go
conversation
outside
from
to
this
obtain our
child.
information. No internet
Hopefully
for
you
me.
live somewhere close in Arizona.
Hopefully, I live somewhere where?
He
Was that a
said,
threat on the
"Hopefully
way
we
out?
live." So, yeah, I think so. He said we live.
Chris, I
somewhere
live in
close.
Mesa, Arizona. I'll be happy to meet up with you anytime. We can have a discussion over a cup of coffee. I'll get something with soy. We'll put a steak in yours so you can feel manly.
And I'll meet you guys
That's
there
the
and
end.
not show up.
This is that was the end. We went 6 minutes over.
He was very upset. Chris, come back and talk to us sometime.
Yeah. 8:30 a.m. to noon Pacific Standard Time every day, Monday through Friday, except for sometimes on Mondays we take a day off, but we don't know why we take Mondays off sometimes. Felice, wonderful job on preparing for the stream today. I really enjoyed the
Prepared
topics today.
yeah. I love to be prepared. I never knew these
have
15
any-
executive orders. I'm going to look over this later.
It's 17. He had the
17,
number
yeah.
wrong. I know you're
I was going to
surprised by
say
that,
it,
but
it
yeah.
is 17. Yeah.
Yeah. The last two that I didn't read, because I assume he only meant the first 15. The last two were implement an ethics pledge for all executive branch officials. He doesn't like that. We don't need ethics. And then freeze Trump's midnight regulations. which were I don't remember what those were. Actually.
Abolish the Muslim ban. That was one. Let Muslims back in the country.
Yeah. Stop banning Muslims from
He
traveling.
just
to our
most
country.
of Trump's bigoted policies he reversed.
Yeah, that does make conservatives mad, especially Chris. And Chris, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm out of time. I'm gonna go hang out with my daughter. Thank you everybody for the kind words the last couple of days. Thanks for showing up today. You killed it on the likes. 233,200 shares. Let me make sure I'm not missing any. Tyler Vintage Toys, Bulldog Willie. Come back tomorrow. We'll be here tomorrow, but I have a hard cutoff. Felice, you're wonderful. Thank you for all you do.
Pleasure as always. See you later, Gators.
See you guys.